What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here for episode 49 of Tuesday Night Titans. I am JD from New York, as always, coming to you live with my co-host. You may know him. Now, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I got to get Jason back in here. Oh, shit.
Did you forget me?
Oh, man. I thought StreamYard was actually going to just pop him back in here, man. You may know this fucking guy.
I'm sitting here going, does this guy forget about me? Am I talking to myself? I thought he had me muted.
Oh, man. Listen, man. First hiccup of hopefully not many. You guys may know this guy, the Solomonster. We are the Tuesday Night Titans. Thank you guys so very much for joining us on your Tuesday nights. Brother, how you doing tonight?
Better than you, apparently.
Listen, man, I only had one sip of my gin and tonic, man. I'm fine.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll buy that.
Anyway, guys, we got a lot to get into tonight. Again, I want to preface this by saying that it's been a very, very slow month in general for pro wrestling news. It's a tough life for a content creator unless you're making kitty content out there with top tens and top feuds of all time. That's not really the content that Jason and I make, but I mean, just to give you guys a glimpse of what is going on, man, and what we're dealing with. Yesterday's top stories were Liv Morgan becoming single, which I really don't believe. By the way, none of you guys have a chance. Jason and I don't have a chance. None of you guys do. And Topanga, Danielle Fishel, from Boy Meets World, one of my favorite shows of all time, interviewing Bruce Pritchard and saying she wants to take a bump through a table. Those are the top stories for the week.
Well, to go back to the first thing that you mentioned there, I don't know. I mean, the way I look in this thumbnail, I think I might have a shot.
Well, listen, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned the thumbnail. Who made this again, Jason? Lamont made this, right?
This was Lamont.
Okay. So if you guys see the thumbnail, I'm going to start doing this now, customary of what we do here on Tuesday nights. Lamont or whoever comes up with the best, and it's got to really be like top notch. This is a fucking fantastic one. I thought last week's were great with the Rockers. Today we're depicted as the Steiner brothers. So I'm Rick Steiner. I'm the dog-faced gremlin, and Jason is Scott Steiner. Now I have to ask you, bro, of his many nicknames, which nickname are you going by? Are you going by the Genetic Freak? Are you going by Big Papa Pump? Are you going by Freakzilla, White Thunder, or Big Bad Booty Daddy? Which one?
I feel like I look like White Thunder.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with White Thunder. I think that suits me.
All right.
Yeah.
I figured you're gonna go with Big Bad Booty Daddy.
Well, I could go with that, but what the thing about this image though, and somebody pointed this out to me. This is the second time that I have seen myself with the rat tail in the back or whatever it is, the mullet. It's actually not a bad look on me. It's got me thinking maybe we should make that happen. I don't know.
Possibly.
Maybe.
I mean, I got a little bit too much arm hair, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. You had like a rug on your arm. I don't know what was going on there.
Anyway, shout out to Lamont, man. These have been fantastic. It's actually it's something I've look forward to every week now to see what you guys come up with, man. And there are endless amounts of tag teams. I'd love to see who you guys are gonna come up with next. May I recommend anybody out there doing the AI stuff? How about Rated RKO or Money Incorporated? Just
maybe the Bushwhackers. How about the Bushwhackers?
No, come on.
What about the? Come on.
No,
Quebecers.
Quebecers. I could do the Quebecers. Yeah.
There you go. All right, that works.
I thought I saw Owen and Bulldog today floating around.
Yes. I think that was also Lamont. It's like I'm building a collection of these. I don't want to give them all away at once. So I'm saving them all.
I'm a scary bulldog. I don't want to see that again.
I didn't think it looked that bad, but yeah, shout out to Lamont. Whatever he's using or doing or whatever, he's very talented, and we get a kick out of it. So thank you.
It's great stuff, and it shows the support that you guys have for the show. Thank you guys very much. Please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Go follow Jason's YouTube channel as well. I linked him in the title as always, and you guys can find his socials and his YouTube channel linked down below in the description. If you guys are watching live right now or after the fact, it's there. Go follow him. Always great content from him on his end. We'll both be live tomorrow night for AEW Dynamite, which is the go-home show for this weekend's Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. We will talk some Double or Nothing tonight and go over some predictions and preview what's going on over there. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up as well. Super chats are open. If you guys want to support the show, any questions, comments, or concerns, you guys can get them on in as well, and we will attack those at the end of the show. And please make sure you guys have fun in the comments section. Keep it clean. It's been very good for the first 2 episodes, and I'd like to keep it that way. So thank you guys very much for all the support. Have fun there. And let's get the show on the road. As always, brother, I'm going to leave it off with you. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I think we should kick things off here with King and Queen of the Ring. Since we're coming off the semifinals last night, I think we should start there. Obviously, we have the big PLE coming up on Saturday, which is a pretty tight card like Backlash. I think right now, was it 5 matches? I think Triple H has lined up.
5 matches. I like the takeover-esque feel of quantity, or quality rather, over quantity. Vince used to do 8-hour pay-per-views. No more with Triple H. I like the takeover specials.
That was really WrestleMania. I mean, it wasn't like every pay-per-view was like that. It wasn't like Tony Khan with AEW, because they don't run every month. Those were a lot longer.
There were a couple of SummerSlams that were 5.5 hours long.
All right, maybe 5-ish when you factor in the pre-show. But were you sitting there and watching the entire pre-show? Probably not.
Sadly, I was. Yeah.
Were you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's your fault. You don't have to. I'm not gonna take any responsibility for that. Sometimes I'd sit in on some of it. Sometimes I'd skip it. But yeah, no, I agree that he is following the takeover formula, which is much more palatable. It's just much easier to sit through. And also, I mean, if you look at the product right now, there's this incredible emphasis now on presentation and entrances in a way that I don't think really has ever been there before. So you have these elaborate entrances and everybody's so freaking over, and they know that the entrances alone are probably going to take up 25 minutes. So you have to leave time for that. By the time you turn around 5 matches, you got 3 hours or 3.5 hours. You don't really need more than that.
Now, have you noticed a growing frustration from the internet fan base about, long entrances, and there's not enough matches, there's not enough wrestling, it's Jey Uso doing Uso for 20 minutes. Have you noticed any kind of disgruntled fan base in regards to that aspect at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're called AEW fans because AEW fans, they have a certain, they're used to a certain thing when they watch their shows, and they think that the WWE shows should be like that. And I could say the same thing about the WWE fans, too, the really diehard hardcore ones. They'll look at an AEW show and they'll critique it because it's not WWE. So I don't really put a lot of stock in that. I don't have an issue with it. I think it's fine. If the product is hot and the people are over and the entrances are over, it's all part of the package. It doesn't bother me. I mean, how could it bother you if you go back and watch that show from France and you see, and not every crowd is like that, but you see the reactions on that show and you just kind of look out at the crowd, and it's like, how can that not get you hyped up, for what you're about to see? So I don't have an issue with it. But we'll talk about the tournament first, because there's more than just tournament matches on the show. We could talk about, Cody and Logan and all that. The big question coming into Raw last night, would they beat Gunther? And would they send Jey Uso to Saudi to wrestle Tama Tonga? Which I didn't think was necessary at all, because if you want to do that, you can do that outside of the tournament. I think it would have been ridiculous not to send Gunther at least to the finals. And thankfully, common sense prevailed. And he is going to the show on Saturday. I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion who he's going to be wrestling now. It's going to be Gunther and Randy Orton, which I think both of us have been talking about now for weeks.
Yeah.
That was going to be the final. And so I was very happy to see that. I was struck by the lack of reaction to the main event last night. I don't know if that was something you noticed, because we've had some main events and tournament matches in recent weeks that will close the show. And we had this with Jay and Dragunov as well, where it gets a pretty, the fans get into it, at least down the stretch, they're really into it. Last night, it just felt dead. It didn't have that feeling of, oh, this is a major important match in this tournament. And maybe that was just the crowd for the majority of the show. I don't know. I know they went off the air super quick. It was
that's the part I didn't like most out of anything, because it's like Gunther won this supposed big match, and then before he even got up from the submission hold, they were off the air.
Yeah. I mean, it was literally almost instant. Like within 5 seconds, they were off the air. So I wonder how much longer it was supposed to go. My guess is it would have been Jay, struggling, and then ultimately he would have gone out, and it would have been the exact same thing. So that struck me that main event didn't really get over last night, but I think it was the right outcome. You look at the women's side, we had Lyra, we had Io. That one was a little bit tougher to predict. Lyra going over did not surprise me. They're really pushing her hard. They're obviously very high on her. She's gotten a lot of screen time with Becky Lynch in recent weeks. I don't see her going all the way.
There's something missing there, though, with Lyra.
Well, yeah, but I've been saying that since NXT.
Yeah.
She
cuts a promo like her dog died yesterday. Like, I mean, there's no emphasis on her. Like, I don't know what it is. Her cadence, the way she delivers, the way she speaks. I mean, it almost sounds like she's like, I don't know, punished by her parents or something.
Well, maybe she is. How do you know?
I don't know. Maybe Becky said something. Maybe Becky punished her. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe,
and there's no oomph. There's no oomph to her tone. I don't know what it is.
But I think that's on purpose also, because I think that they want her to be the underdog, which is what she is here. I mean, she's brand new to the main roster. A lot of people still don't know who she is. And so she's the underdog. She's like, oh, I can't believe, who would have predicted that after 3 weeks I'd be where I am now, gee golly. That's the character that she's playing. She's going into this match on Saturday as the underdog, whoever it's against, whether it's Bianca, whether it's Nia. So I wonder if part of that is on purpose. But look, I've been saying this about her since the NXT days. I said mechanically she can work. She's had some very good matches. I'm not critiquing her work. Character-wise, I said when she got drafted, I said it could be a struggle on the main roster because personality-wise and character-wise, it just seems very one-dimensional. There's not a lot there. I think it's smart to associate her with Becky. Yeah, I know why they're doing it. And I'm sure Becky is more than happy to try to help get her over because they're friends and she wants to see her succeed. So I think it's smart, but I agree with you in that it feels like there's something missing. I do wonder long-term how well she'll get over because there is kind of a very, basic feel to, like a generic feel. Like if you were creating a character in 2K24, maybe this is what you would create, with some wings. And this is what you would end up with. So I get that. I agree with you on that. But I also think that they want her to portray the underdog. And that's kind of part and parcel of what they're doing here.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mentioned this yesterday on my end. I feel like this is a widespread WWE thing. And everybody says I'm a Triple H apologist, but I called this out yesterday, not only with Lyra, but it's a problem in the women's division. You could mention the same thing about Zoe Stark. You could say the same thing about Candice LeRae. You could say the same thing about Indy Hartwell, Tegan Knox. These women, talented as they may be, and I'd like to see the women's division flourish with some talent that's not the big 5 or 6 that they usually push every week. This is a widespread problem where they don't get a lot of television time. The television time that they get is 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. You can't really fit in what you need to fit in to get over in 3 minutes. There's no talking points. There's no dialogue. And Lyra, I kind of correlated her, Jason, with Zoe Stark. Zoe's been on television. Zoe was in the Queen of the Ring tournament. She's number one contenders now with Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championships coming out of last night. There's just nothing there. It's just very like, why do I care about this? What are you doing to get me to invest my time in these individuals? And they're not doing that. And, again, I'm not going to blame Vince or anybody else. This is a Triple H problem. I don't know why he succeeds at something or several things, and then the most glaring of problems, and something that he was so great at in NXT when Black and Gold was around, was the women's division. Seemingly, he can't get it right on the main roster.
Well, one thing we saw them do last night, they did this with, I think, both women. I know they did it with Io. They had that one vignette, she was underwater, and it was like a personality video to get people hyped up for the match. I think that's good. I think we should get more of that. But I think as far as someone like Lyra, it would help to go a little bit deeper, into her background. And maybe they did this in NXT. I don't remember, the different video packages they may have put together. I think they have to do a better job, though, on the main roster of doing a deeper dive into some of these people. If there's anything interesting about their background, if, anything that might help get them over more and explain to people what is so unique about this person. And I feel like she would be someone who would benefit from that. Maybe they shoot video of her back home or visiting home, and we kind of learn where she came up. And they've done this with Becky before, and so it could help to do stuff like that with Lyra. She's still new. She hasn't been on the main roster that long. She's been there like a month. So I'm hoping that in time that will come. But she's moving on. So she's going to the final. She got the upset win over Io, which I was kind of going into the show. I thought that might be the case. And so we have Gunther are the two from Raw who are going to the finals. Now, one thing that I was hoping we would get last night, I was hoping we would get this 3 weeks ago, and we didn't, and we still don't know what, if anything, beyond the crowns are on the line in this tournament, which tells me that there may be nothing on the line in these tournaments, or else they would have told us by now. And I'm sure I'm not the only one aggravated about this.
No. And you mentioned that last week, and it kind of sat with me all week, and I'm like, Jason's right. And it really kind of fucked me up, thinking about what's coming out of Monday Night Raw, because if there is a championship on the line, Gunther's obviously going to the finals. If there is no championship on the line, then I could see them giving the finals to Jey Uso and Tama Tonga beating Randy Orton. So it's like you making that one little aspect that hasn't really been brought to anybody's attention kind of could have changed the whole tournament's perception. But Gunther's going on, so I'm assuming that he's going to be the de facto number one contender when he wins this thing. I hope, I know he's not ready yet for a world championship. I think there's an order of things to come here with McIntyre winning it from Priest, and then maybe Gunther wins it from McIntyre. But I don't like the fact that they didn't mention that, because all we see is that silly fucking crown. And I mean, anybody could walk around with a fucking gimmick and call themselves a king or a champion. I want to know. Give me something in writing or something official from Michael Cole. This guy's going to go over here and he's going to get this championship match at a later date. That's all I need.
Gunther is the only one in the last month who even hinted at going after a title, right? In that first promo he cut when he declared for the tournament, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something to the effect of, maybe I'll go after the world title, or maybe I'll go back after the Intercontinental title. So that's what first put the idea in my head of, okay, maybe now this is the first King of the Ring under, a new regime here. Maybe this is the way that Triple H is going to work it. And then we didn't hear anything about it again. So that's why it's puzzling to me how they kind of teased it weeks ago, and then since then they have said a word about it.
Yeah.
So if Gunther is going to win, he may well go after a title. But again, it would be nice if they articulated that to the audience, because then it would make these matches that much more special. It's like, oh shit, okay, other than a crown, there actually is something tangible on the line here. And now we're 4 or 5 days out, and we still have no more clarity than we did weeks ago. That's ridiculous, and that's a failing of Triple H. But it also may be an indication that there is nothing technically on the line here other than a crown. Maybe it's, informally, maybe the winner will ultimately get a title match at a later date. Like you said, Gunther wouldn't be next in line anyway.
Yeah.
We know he's not going to Scotland and challenging for the title, but I would pose this question to you on that note. We're going to get Randy Orton and Gunther on Saturday. Okay. I think we're both in agreement on that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get Kevin Owens on Friday, making his return and, helping kind of ward off the bloodline. Orton will go on to win. I do leave open the possibility that Randy Orton could win this tournament. And I only say that because if he were to win, and this goes back to what we were just talking about, it would be nice to know if there were stakes on the line. I look ahead to what's next for Cody. And the match that I would love to see Cody have is with Randy. It's just a matter of when do you do it. So if they're going to do Cody and Rock at WrestleMania next year, it's probably not going to be the WrestleMania match. Cody doesn't exactly have this great pool of challengers to pull from in these next 6 months or 9 months. Randy would be kind of the key guy. Could Randy win King of the Ring and then ultimately use that to build to a title match at SummerSlam with Cody and Randy? Yes, I think there's a chance of that. Now, does he have to win King of the Ring to get a title match? No, he's fucking Randy Orton. They can give him a title match whenever they want. But I leave open that little possibility. I think there's a chance, a small chance. But I think there's a chance that he could actually go over in this tournament.
Well, now that you mention it, that's going to stick with me until Saturday, because I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think Gunther is probably, I mean, you set the table up with the submissions. I mean, you were the first one that I know of that called out the submissions. Everybody's been tapped out or passed out. I mean, Gunther's been winning via submission instead of with the power bomb. And Randy Orton's been limping with that leg. He came out of Friday with the injured leg, wrapped the leg up on Friday. And I feel like that's going to be a factor. So, I mean, one thing I will say about Triple H is he did somewhat make this unpredictable, because the fact that we're even asking questions and going back and forth on different outcomes is a good thing. It's not just like, all right, this guy's going to win it, and then that guy ends up winning it or she wins it. You know, we're asking questions and we're coming up with different directions. So I would say that's a good job. You know, well done by Triple H for this year's King of the Ring. If this is going to be a staple every year, I mean, that's the long-term effect that I see coming out of this thing. I'd like to see them tweak it a little bit, but I thought overall it's been a good job since we're asking these questions.
Yeah, and I have enjoyed the tournament. I like the fact that a lot of the matches have been given time. You know, that was one of the things I was a little concerned about coming into it. We remember very well the Queen's Crown from 3 years ago, but even the King of the Ring from 3 years ago. I don't recall there being a lot of terribly long matches. And so I like the fact that a lot of these matches are getting 20 minutes or a little over 20 minutes, especially the deeper into the tournament you go. So I would like to see it become an annual thing. If it, in a perfect world, if it were up to me, you would have stakes that are very clearly identified. And I think I would flip King of the Ring and Money in the Bank. So bump Money in the Bank up a little bit and have King of the Ring a little bit closer to SummerSlam, maybe in July. So that way, if you were to win the tournament and let's say you win a shot, you could tie it into SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know, what the Royal Rumble is to WrestleMania is what King of the Ring could be to SummerSlam. And I understand there are people who say, oh, you know, people say that and they make a big deal about it, but that was really only like 2 years out of the history of the tournament. Well, okay, I like that idea. So why don't we make that a thing? Just because it happened in 1995 or 1996 or whatever, didn't even happen in 96. But even if it happened a long time ago, I like the concept that happened with Brock in 02, where you win it and then it vaults you to the main event of SummerSlam. That's how I would do it. I don't know if Triple H is going to do that, but it doesn't work really as well if it's in May, because you have this huge gap between then and the SummerSlam pay-per-view. So that's why I say I think you would flip the two events.
Yeah, I think possibly the reason why he did it this year so early, as you said, in May, maybe he did not want to be bothered with writing storylines that weren't really going to be fulfilling, knowing that he had Backlash, and then 3 weeks later he had this show, and then we're going right into Scotland. So it's like we're kind of being bombarded with PLEs here, and it's like maybe it was a time constraint issue. But I agree with you. I mean, I love pay-per-views that actually happen and then play a role into making the main event happen for another show. Like you said, King of the Ring should be the bridge to SummerSlam, like Royal Rumble is the bridge to WrestleMania. I mean, I've been on that aspect for many years.
Yeah, look, we talk about, and even with AEW, you know, the idea that there should be more threads that tie one episode to the next. But I think it works the same way, or it can work the same way, even for the PLEs, you know, where something that happens on one could have an impact on the next one. You know, it could lead into the next one in some way. I don't see anything wrong with that. You don't need every PLE to work that way. But I think in this case, it would work. So I've enjoyed the tournament for the most part. You know, when I look back on it, it's almost over now. The standouts to me, I still go back to that first week. Gunther and Sheamus, Dragunov and Ricochet, which I think may have been better than Gunther and Sheamus. And they both happened on the same night. I will give a shout out, though, also to Natty and Io. I actually thought they had a very good match, better than I expected it to be. Those three matches may have been, and I guess Orton and AJ was pretty good too, but those three are the ones that stand out to me. And hopefully it'll continue, you know, in future years where this will stick around and it'll be an annual thing, and we'll see how that goes. But as far as the Queen's Crown, or the Queen of the Ring crown, it looks like we're headed for Nia Jax and Lyra Valkyria, because Bianca and Lyra, I think if you were to make a list of all the potential women's matches, that would be at the bottom of the one that people want or would expect. I don't see that happening at all. So I also don't think you want to send two people with bad knees to the show on Saturday. You know, if Orton's going to go,
Yeah.
It's like they're doing the same story with Bianca, which is kind of weird to me. You would think at least do an arm or something. It's like you get 2 bad knee, situations on the same show. I think that's kind of strange. But I think we're going to get Lyra and Nia. And I know you've been saying Queen Nia. I think it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to get Queen Nia Jax coming out of the show on Saturday. I made this point last night, during the Raw review on my channel. And I said, Nia wins the crown. And I don't know if she's going to wrestle Bayley, for the title at the next show or not. But there's another woman who is going to be coming back soon, who's also going to be on SmackDown. And so you're going to get Queen against Queen. Oh, yes, it's coming. You're going to get Queen against Queen. Once she's back, Nia is going to walk around with that fucking crown on her head. She's going to think that she's, the superior female on the entire division. And then, boom, who is going to come back. And there's a ready-made feud, right? Because she's going to SmackDown because that's where Andrade is. So once Charlotte, I know your favorite, once she's back, I mean, it's just inevitable. Is it not?
I mean, yes.
You got one woman walking around calling herself the queen, and then she comes back. I mean,
again,
it's going to be impossible not to get
this fucking guy here. I mean, he's calling 3-hour dynamites, and now he's got Queen Charlotte versus Queen Nia. I mean,
I'm not arguing for it. I'm just predicting it.
You're putting it in the air, though.
This is not a wish list. It's called predictions.
Yes, I could see that happen. I'm not ready for that to happen just yet. But going back to your original point with Lyra, Bianca winning as tag team champion would be counterproductive, in my honest opinion. And if the priority here is to build Lyra up as a underdog, come from behind babyface, a match with Bianca Belair really doesn't fit the bill. I think going up against the monstrous Nia Jax is probably what you want Lyra to try and overcome. Valiant effort. Get halfway up the mountain, get up there, and she just doesn't do it, and she falls short. So I think that's where we're headed, and I think that's the right match there. Jade, I know you and I both called this last week, and I know you and I both called it individually on our own channels. The way they went about it, instead of doing a double countout, they went with a disqualification, no matter how sloppy it looked. I mean, I guess the execution of it could have been a little bit better, but a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you call that out? It was sloppy and it was ridiculous. It ruins the tournament. I'm like, well, I mean, if you guys listen to our show where we talked about why it's going to happen and why it's best for it to happen that way, maybe you would have understood our point. But I think what they were going for, Jason, was executed poorly, but it was the right creative decision with Nia Jax going to the finals by disqualification.
Yeah, how does that ruin the tournament? I still don't understand that.
Having a DQ in the tournament, like Jade should have her eyes on the crown, and she looked like an idiot. I'm like, well, her daughter was in the front row. Nia Jax said something to her daughter, so I mean, any woman is going to get angry by that.
No, Nia Jax said your mother sucks. That's literally what she said. I would say that would probably light a fire under most moms if she said that to I don't know how old her daughter is. She's obviously very young. I still fail to see how that ruins the entire tournament, but. Yeah, I mean, it was predictable. We were kind of bouncing around the ideas last week. Is it going to be maybe a situation where they eliminate each other and the winner of the other match gets a bye, automatically moves into the next round? Or is Nia going to somehow find her way to victory? And that's what she did, And again, the match went 2 minutes. And I mean, there wasn't much to it. And I was wondering coming in, how are they going to protect Jade? Because I questioned the wiseness of putting her in a singles match with Nia Jax. And look, Nia has made improvements, and I agree with you on that. You mentioned that last week, but still, it scared me, the idea of putting Jade in a potentially long singles match with Nia Jax. So they did exactly what they had to do. They kept it short. They, had the daughter involved. She snapped. Nia tried to hit her first. She lost her composure for a second, used the chair, got herself disqualified. You'll notice it's not like they got drowned out by boos or bullshit chants. No. Because they had this big pull-apart brawl. People seemed to be into it. So I thought it was smart. It was a way to protect her, even though she technically lost. And it gets them out of a jam here. It's like, well, who goes over and who do you beat? Well, that kind of solved that problem. Nia moves on. Jade doesn't lose anything by losing in that way. Like you said, it was sloppy. I know she was bleeding from the side of her face. She got hit with the chair in the face. But no, I mean, it was the right move to make. You could argue, then why even do the match in the first place? But one disqualification finish like that in a tournament does not ruin the tournament. If there were anybody out there who actually thought that, that's ridiculous. Come on.
Yeah, no, I felt like what they did on the ladies' side was very good. And like I said, Jade wasn't going to take a pinfall. WWE's not in the business of beating her so soon right now. She is a champion. I hate, and I know Jason hates seeing champions lose on television and non-championship matches. And Nia, if she wins the Queen of the Ring, which I do think that she will, as does Jason, clearly they built to a potential program or at least a match with Nia Jax and Jade Cargill. So it would be easier for Jade to beat Nia, because right now, if you look at it, neither woman could be beaten. So if Jade is going to wrestle Nia after she wins the Queen of the Ring, it's a little bit easier to digest Nia losing, because she would have already won the Queen of the Ring, and potentially she's probably going after Bayley anyway in the Women's Championship. So it's a little bit easier to digest at that point, and you could give Jade her win over Nia. A lot of it just works out, just thinking it out, just better that way. So I don't know why people had to struggle, coming up with that concept. It's like, I mean, I don't know who you're listening to, but really it's not difficult to figure out, honestly.
Listening to the wrong people.
I don't know.
That's who they're listening to.
I don't know.
Either that or the voices in their head. I don't know.
So Nia is going over Lyra. Nia's going over Bianca. I don't know if there's going to be any nefarious outcome there on Friday night. I would maybe think Jade gets involved, but I'm not really sure.
No, I mean, I think the knee is going to be the focal point there. And that's why they've been teasing it now for 2 weeks. They're giving Bianca an out. I could see a finish where she tries to pick her up for the KOD. Her knee gives out. Maybe they'll go with the Ryback Mark Henry finish from WrestleMania, where she just falls on top of her and pins her. How awful would that be?
Please.
Literally just falls on top and just fucking pins her. I still, how many years has it been? And I still can't. I was in the building that night, and I was like, my jaw dropped.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was not the best WrestleMania, but I still can't believe that was actually a finish that they came up with. But yeah, it'll be something like that. The knee will come into play. Again, Bianca loses nothing. She fought valiantly. She just couldn't pull it off. They go on, they defend their tag team titles. Well, I guess we have new number one contenders after last night, right? It's Zoe and Shayna now.
Zoe and Shayna, wake me when it's over, honestly. I don't really see that happening. But we have the now X Factor in that one with Sonya Deville coming back, which was less than ceremonious for a return. But we'll get there a little bit later. But sticking with the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, Nia's going over Lyra. That's my prediction. I think Jason feels the same way. Gunther over Randy Orton, though Jason made a good point that Randy Orton could win the King of the Ring, and Cody potentially looking at a SummerSlam match with Randy Orton if they want to go that route. I don't know if we're ready for that yet. I would love to see Rock back sooner rather than later and get that match at SummerSlam, but that may be wishful thinking. But, the possibility of that happening is there, but I am going to go with Gunther. And we will have two heels winning the King and Queen of the Ring, Jason. When has that happened before? No.
And that's the only reason that I was starting to think, well, maybe, they're going to want one babyface maybe on the men's side. Or, look, they could give the whole thing to Lyra. I wouldn't do that. I think her going as far as she's gone is enough to get her over as a serious, person in the eyes of the fans. But I was going over it the other day, and I mentioned the fact, even if you look at the Royal Rumbles, going back to 2018 when they started doing the men's and the women's, they just don't do it. They don't do two heels going over. It's either two baby faces or they do a split. So if two heels go over, it would be very unique because it's just something WWE doesn't like doing.
Yeah. Listen, Xavier Woods won it, and he was a terrible king. Honestly, I felt like Vince made him into a joke of a king. But if Gunther and Nia are going to win it, to me that seems like the best bet. King Gunther, King Nia, nice rings to it. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they produce on Saturday afternoon, and that's where Jason and I are both feeling as far as those two matches are concerned. The other three matches that we have lined up for Saturday, a couple of championship matches here. Liv Morgan will go one-on-one with Becky Lynch for the Women's World Championship. And we don't really know Becky Lynch's contract status right now. For all intents and purposes, we both think that she will remain with WWE, but we haven't heard any news on if she has resigned yet, which is actually coming up very imminently. So just based off that, Jason, not even that really. I mean, you could play that into the factor. But I think as far as the storyline is concerned, which is something we should really be focusing on primarily, Liv Morgan is due to win that championship. And I think with everything that's going on with her and these little Easter eggs and these little cutaway scenes that we see her last night, I believe, I don't know if you picked up on it, she jumped out of the Jeep or the car of the Judgment Day. Finn Balor exited the vehicle, and then Liv Morgan exited the vehicle. And then she has the bandana of Dominic Mysterio in her pocket, so something's going on there in the absence of Rhea Ripley. I just think with everything going on, it's time to crown Liv Morgan. No matter if you're a fan of her or not, she is the right person to hold that championship, at least until Rhea Ripley gets back.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole point. She goes around talking about this revenge tour, and she's going to take everything away from Rhea. So she already took her title away from her, basically, by causing her injury. Now she's trying to take her I mean, I don't know if he's her boyfriend, whatever you want to call Dominic, her slave. I don't know what you would call him. Teach their own.
Yeah, lucky Dominic, man. I don't know. You gotta juggle between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Oh man,
there's a lot of guys out there who would love to be in the situation that he's in, and don't look the way he does with the mullet and the mustache. But Liv is trying to take everything away from this woman. It would make sense, unless Rhea is going to be out for like a really extended period of time. But let's say she's going to be gone for a few more months. She comes back. Liv is the champion. You got that natural match. She's going to go after her. She's going to get her belt back. The story is right there. Also, Becky doesn't need the belt. I know why they put the belt on her, because they panicked and they wanted to have it on somebody who has a name. She is the de facto biggest star in the division without Rhea being around. Some would say even with Rhea around that Becky was still number one. I think it's debatable. So I know why they put the belt on her. When they didn't put it on Liv in the Battle Royal, I was okay with it because it's a fucking Battle Royal.
Everybody complained.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? And I thought they might. I thought they might put the belt on her and whatever. That would have been fine. But when they didn't, it's like it's a meaningless Battle Royal. Who cares? It came down to her and Becky. It was very clear that they were going to end up having a singles match out of it, which we're now getting. And if you're a Liv Morgan fan, would you not be more happy about her getting a singles match and beating Becky Lynch one-on-one than winning a stupid Battle Royal on TV?
Yeah.
So here we are. And I think that she is going to walk out with the championship. I think that would be the right move to make. If ever you were going to put the belt on her, it feels like it's now or never. I mean, you either do it now or you don't do it. And let her hold on to it for a few months. And when Rhea comes back, she's not going to have it long term. She's not going to hold on to that title very long.
No.
And Rhea will get her belt back. And whatever the story with Dom is going to be, we'll see where that goes. But she's trying to take everything from this woman. She's going after Liv when she comes back. Liv should be the champion. Let's say Liv doesn't win the title and Becky holds on to it. Well, who does she go after next? Who does she defend against next? It's not like they have this long list of challengers that are ready and lined up for her. Who are they going to put her in the ring with?
I have no idea.
Lyra? I mean,
they've been teasing Liv and Lyra, on television.
No, yeah, but not necessarily teasing a match this quickly, though, between them, right? I mean, they've been friends. EO, maybe. You could do that, but it's not like you have this long, obvious list of challengers for Becky. Does Becky need the belt? She doesn't need the belt.
No.
Liv can use the belt. So I have her going over here.
Yeah, it's going to be funny to see all the Liv Morgan superfans out there cry because, like Jason said, and I've been prepping you guys for months now. As soon as this match happens and she wins the championship, she's the definition of a transitional champion. And she's only holding the title till Rhea Ripley gets back. I'm not sure if you guys were aware, Rhea Ripley was never scheduled to lose that championship this year. She was absolutely taking that title into WrestleMania next year. So, WWE's quickly going to make up for lost time by giving her that title back. But I'm interested in the story, and I'm more story-focused than anything. So, obviously, the shoe-in there for Liv Morgan is Rhea Ripley. As long as they tell a good story, Liv Morgan's title reign will be a lot better than when she won it from Ronda Rousey the first time, and they did nothing with her. So I'm looking forward to seeing the stories that they tell with Dominic and Judgment Day, and Rhea Ripley maybe breaking away from Judgment Day and going into this mega babyface role. A lot of cool stuff potentially to come out of this, but I think we're both in agreement here. Liv Morgan is going to walk away the women's champion. Mm-hmm. Sami Zayn, I loved what they did last night, minus a couple of hiccups with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. Sami Zayn is defending the Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable and Bronson Reed in a triple threat match. And last night, Jason, Sami Zayn wrestled Chad Gable in a great match to open the show. I did not like or care for because I just hate to see champions on television in a non-title situation lose. And I hate to see, because it's a very Vince thing to do, 2/3 or the whole fucking thing sometimes if it was him, giving away a pay-per-view match on television legitimately in the same week that the pay-per-view's happening. I had a problem with that, but I overlooked it for the greater good because the story here, I love what they're doing with Otis here. I called it out on social media yesterday, the sympathy that Otis is getting, and we've seen him in these roles, you know, from time to time. The last time it was like chasing Mandy Rose and, you know, Otis, the big good guy, you know, not a ladies' man, trying to get the obviously hot Mandy Rose. And, you know, he ended up getting the kiss at WrestleMania. And now he's going through it all over again with Chad Gable belittling him and slapping him across the face and calling him a failure. I called it back to Bryan and the Wyatt family. And it's not really the same, but the sympathy, it almost made Bryan into this fucking unbelievable, larger-than-life character. Everybody was even behind him more so. Everybody's slowly getting behind Otis with this thing. So no matter the deficiencies or the hiccups here that I had with this match happening, I look at that Otis story and I'm like, man, I can't wait to see Otis just fucking beat the shit out of Chad Gable and fuck up his chances on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's working. I mean, you could tell by the reaction of the crowd. I mean, they already liked Otis anyway, but this is only going to get him even more sympathy. I think the match had to happen last night because of what they did, where each time, you know, he would berate Maxine, and then he would berate Tozawa, and then it came down to Otis, and then Otis, you know, he had this crisis of conscience, and then finally he clotheslined Sami in the corner and gives Gable the win. So I think for the story, it was fine. It didn't bother me as much as it normally would. Plus, he already is locked in for a title match this weekend. You know, normally in a situation like this, you pin the champion on TV, you should be the champion, or at the very least get a title shot. Well, he is getting a title shot this weekend, and I don't think that he is walking out with that title.
No.
I think it's pretty clear from that second segment they did later on in the show with Otis, and he made Otis say whatever the words were that he forced him to say, that he is relying on Otis to help him win that title. And when push comes to shove on Saturday, he will fail the test, whether it's inadvertent or whether he just makes a conscious decision that I can't do this, right? Sami gave him that pep talk in the back. So I'm loving the story. I think it's going to blow up in his face. I don't think that Gable himself needs to be the one who gets pinned on Saturday. I would almost prefer it not be him, because I still think in the end, he should win that title. It doesn't have to be this weekend, but I still think one-on-one at some point in the not too distant future, and it could be on TV next month, he should win the Intercontinental title. And just imagine if he does, and then eventually they do the angle with Otis where he breaks away. You could do Gable and Otis for the Intercontinental title if you want to. So
you could,
but I just feel like they've been teasing it with Gable for so long now. I mean, going back to last fall, for him to just not end up winning the title would be death. I mean, I feel like that has to be the end goal here. Even if he just loses it back ultimately to Sami, when does he get his run? When does he get his shot? I don't think it's going to be Saturday. I think Sami retains, but I do think he is going to win that title at some point soon.
I don't know why they don't do it at Clash of the Castle. Honestly, I think Gable being a heel there in that country, beating obviously a mega over babyface in Sami Zayn, is going to be red hot. That crowd, I'd do the title match there and the change there, honestly. And I'd introduce the Creeds there with him, because we got a little tease of that again last night. He was talking to the Creeds backstage before Otis came in and told Chad Gable, you know, I told Sami, I apologized to Sami for what I did earlier, and Gable was like, I know why you did that. You're trying to get on his good side, and then, you know, at the pay-per-view, use it as a tactic for us to win the title. So I could see that title change happening. I don't know why they wouldn't do it there.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, I've been waiting for the Creeds tease to come. We got it last night. Whether Ivy is with them or not, I mean, she doesn't have to be. But again, it's like Team Angle reincarnated. Look at what happened last night when Gable won his match, and you had people chanting "You suck" to his theme music. I mean, you know, basically he is Kurt Angle in the eyes of these fans. He's basically a new age, smaller version of Kurt Angle. You know, Kurt also could be vicious. He could be mean. He could do comedy. Obviously, he was a great wrestler, as we all know. There's so many similarities between the two of them. And I think that, you know, again, him and the Creeds together as a heel trio is the way to go. The Creeds end up winning the World Tag Team titles. I would prefer to see them be the ones to beat Miz and R-Truth for those belts. And now let's say they have the Intercontinental title. They have the tag team titles, right? And they're set for a while. And I think that could work. And the Creeds are amazing. I mean, you watch them on TV, the things that they do, especially Julius. I mean, Julius is going to be a breakout single star one day, guaranteed. But you got to start somewhere. And I think turning them heel and putting them together as a trio, because Gable just gets tired of carrying all the dead weight around. So ultimately, when he's done with Otis and he's done with everybody else, I think the Creeds and Gable together would be a tremendous trio. So I'm hoping that that's what happens. And I like that idea. Do it at Clash. You're going to have a hot crowd there. I do wonder how many people would be cheering him, though. I know they're working very hard to get him hated and booed. But I do think that, especially with these international crowds, you never know how they're going to react. Yeah. I could see like half the crowd actually cheering for Gable in that match.
It's crazy to think about the Creeds. They haven't really, I mean, they're fantastic, but they haven't gotten over on their own yet. They went through, a theme music change, and they don't really have a direction right now. A heat magnet like Gable, right, kind of focusing that heat onto them is going to be a great thing. And him winning the title in Scotland would be fantastic. I can't wait to see that. Now, I do have a note on Sami Zayn here. He was actually interviewed by Daily Mail, and I kind of rolled my eyes at what he said here. He discussed why he thinks his chances of becoming a world champion in WWE were higher under Vince McMahon's leadership instead of Triple H's. And it all comes down to Triple H taking the long-term approach of booking with calculated decisions, while McMahon was notorious for making changes on the fly and sometimes hours before a show went live. Sami said this: "I think Vince saw me much more as a bad guy for a number of reasons. He saw my irksome qualities, which he thought lent itself to being an irksome character. Having said that, I think things were a lot more unpredictable because of the nature of Vince's week-to-week kind of approach, that sometimes the marble would just fall in the right hole, and now you're champion. Whereas with Hunter, I think it's much more, he has a long-term vision, and if you're not a part of that vision, then the chances of breaking into that vision are much, much slimmer," end quote. Sounds like Sami Zayn is not a fucking patient guy, honestly.
Yeah, and so here's what I don't understand at all from what you just said. If you're not part of that vision, then you could basically be left out in the cold. He's saying this as the man that Triple H handpicked to beat Gunther at WrestleMania. Like, I wasn't even handpicking him to beat Gunther at WrestleMania. Triple H made that call. I would say that Triple H believes very strongly in Sami Zayn. He's saying that, well, I might have been, more likely to end up as a world champion under Vince, which, by the way, all the years he worked under Vince, never a world champion, but we'll ignore that for a second. But basically what I'm hearing when he says that is, well, because Vince was very impulsive and would change his mind and rip up scripts, and you never knew what was going to happen, things would change every single day, my chances of becoming world champion maybe on the fly were a lot better than they are now. Well, you know what? If that's the case, I'm glad. Okay, I don't want to go back to those days, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in that company who don't want to go back to those days. I think he's wrong. I guess have more faith in him than he has in himself, because I think that Triple H is a big Sami Zayn fan. Going back to NXT, he brought him into NXT, put the NXT title on him, right? One of the best baby faces that brand ever had. So I don't know what would make him think that Triple H, he wouldn't be like a Triple H guy, or that Triple H would not have him factored into his plans in some way. Just based on the way he's been used in the last couple of years, like, why would he think that? It doesn't make sense.
You said it perfectly. I think he doesn't believe in himself. Like, he believes that he is a world champion for 2 weeks, that Vince McMahon would make him a champion for 2 weeks, and that's all he's going to get. Like, he'd be happy with that as long as he can call himself a world champion.
Yeah, but so what? So he'd be happy with that if he'd be champion for 2 weeks? Who gives a shit?
Some people would be. I mean, and maybe he doesn't look at it any other way. Maybe he doesn't believe in himself to a point where Triple H would make him a world champion with a long-term vision and have it be sustainable. I don't know. Like you said, I mean, he just beat the one guy who's been unbeatable for how long now? 4 years?
666 days he was champion
this
for.
Guy. Who's beating him? We can count them on one hand.
I don't know that there was anybody, I won't say anybody, but anybody that I was aware of, and certainly not myself, going into WrestleMania this year, who picked Sami to win that match. Okay, it was a genuine surprise that he was the one that they picked to go over on Gunther. Because also I was thinking, okay, if they were going to do Brock and Gunther, surely they weren't going to have Brock just beat this guy. Now I'm not so sure. So I just thought, okay, Sami got the spot. Gable didn't. Brock got pulled. They'll have a great match. Gunther will beat him, and he'll move on to the next guy. But he didn't. And Sami won, and he's in a great spot. He's coming off back-to-back WrestleMania Night 1 main events. So I would say he's used in a pretty good fucking way under Triple H so far. And I think Triple H absolutely sees him as a world champion. Yes, maybe he has a longer-term vision. Maybe it doesn't happen for a year, 2 years. I don't know how long he thinks he has left. I mean, he's not an old guy. You know, he could go another 5+ years. Do I think he'll be a world heavyweight champion at some point or a WWE champion? I do. He's the consummate underdog. There's such a great story that you can tell. That's one of the reasons why I wanted him to lose.
Yeah.
At WrestleMania this year. You could run that back in a year for the world heavyweight title.
Bro, I was pitching Sami Zayn. This was before WrestleMania. This was like after Survivor Series. I'm like, why don't we have wait on Sami Zayn? Like you said, nobody predicted Zayn to be in this Intercontinental Championship picture. I think everybody kind of pictured him with Drew McIntyre. Then all the slew of injuries happened. I said it back last year in the fourth quarter. I said, let's have Sami Zayn win the Royal Rumble in 25 and have him challenge Gunther and beat Gunther for the World Championship. That would have been the fucking story there. But they clearly didn't go that direction, and now we got him in the role that we have him in now with Gable. So that may be out the window for at least another 2 years, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know how long it'll be, but I do think he'll get there at some point. But just, again, if I'm understanding what he is saying correctly, I disagree. I think it's ridiculous that he would feel that. I mean, he's entitled to feel however he wants to feel. I'm saying it as a fan. I look at it and I say, what means more? Would Sami Zayn winning the World Heavyweight title randomly and holding on to it for 2 months, is that going to be more meaningful than one day coming up with a longer term story for him, playing it out over a period of months, and then he gets his big moment where he finally wins the big one? I mean, isn't that what every wrestler dreams of? How many wrestlers dream of coming to work one day and saying, oh, hey, you're going to win the world title tonight, and then, you're going to drop it in a few weeks? Oh, great. I can call myself. Maybe he thinks that when his time is done and he hits the convention circuit, he'll make more money by calling himself a former world heavyweight champion. Like, I don't know. But I heard that quote, and it just, my eyebrows went up. I go, wait, what? It just doesn't make sense. Like, he's one of the most, I don't say protected, but he's one of the most well-booked stars on the WWE roster right now, and he's beloved by the fans. It's not his time right now, but I don't have any doubt that it'll be his time at some point. He just has to be patient. That's all.
There's plenty of talent for that to happen against, too. Gunther, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Cody. I'd love to see a match with those two down the line. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, if anybody has a right, I think, to maybe be frustrated, it would be somebody like LA Knight.
Yeah.
Not Sami Zayn.
And the last match that we got here, only 5 matches on Saturday. Like we talked about, it is definitely the takeover model by Triple H on the main roster. Some of you guys might be a little taken back by the lack of matches here, but 5 matches in total. Main event will be Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul for the WWE Championship. It was rumored that it would be both the WWE and the United States Championships. It is not, thank God. They made a right decision. I don't know if this was by design or if this was something that they came up with in the week and said, hey, man, I don't think this makes sense. I'm glad that whatever the reason is, they changed it. So it's only for Cody's title, which makes it a little bit too predictable. I guess it was predictable the other way, too, but it's still predictable. Cody is going to win. How he will win, I don't know. Is there going to be outside interference? Is Logan Paul's goons and cronies going to get involved? Is someone going to back Cody up? Is there going to be something that happens that sets up Cody's next opponent? I have no idea. Should be a great match, though, and everything Logan Paul has done has been really grade A stuff, so I'm looking forward to it, but I just don't really give a shit, honestly. There's no emotion for me in this match.
With this being the Endeavor era and all, and they got all the connections. Maybe what they have in mind here, because there's a WWE Hall of Famer who is fighting Logan's brother, very soon, couple months. And what if they did a so stupid? What if they did a situation here where Jake Paul got involved in this match And it was all to build up a tag team match on a WWE show with Cody and Mike Tyson against Jake and Logan Paul.
Oh my God. The fuck are you? What are you drinking over there, man? Really?
Something very strong. But like, I was just thinking about that. Like, hey, you know what? You know, Cody was there when Tyson made his cameo, right, in AEW that time, right? They probably met each other before.
Yes.
Yeah, they probably know each other. You don't think that Nick Khan wouldn't want to put that fucking tag team match together if he had the opportunity?
Now that you mention it, Nick Khan's probably drooling somewhere. Oh man, let's get him on the phone, man.
Of course he is. I'm just saying.
Listen, I wouldn't put anything past them being in Saudi. I mean, anybody and everybody comes out for these shows as long as they make the people over there happy. I thought the contract signing on Friday was very good. I didn't really, again, like I said, care for this match happening. I feel like the priority should have been Cody setting up some story. There's really no story here, no matter how many people want to spin it. I know I've had a bunch of people from the other side. Well, why don't you complain about this? There's no story. You know, you complain about AEW. I'm like, yeah, I complain. There's no story. There is no story. It's happening because it's Saudi Arabia, and WWE has one of two shows for the first time this year in Saudi Arabia. What don't you guys understand? But Logan Paul and Cody's going to be a great match. Cody's going to be a fighting champion. He's going to go another 25 minutes and have a great match with Logan Paul. That's all this is meant to be. My question is, where do we go from here? Because he got AJ Styles, he's got Logan Paul. That's a W and a W. Where does he go from here? I don't know. I would have ran AJ Styles back. I would have prolonged his story there with AJ Styles and then maybe do Logan Paul at a later date. But Saudi didn't want AJ Styles. They wanted Logan Paul. So that's why we're getting it.
Well, look, there's always the bloodline. They can fall back on that. I can't say I'd be excited to see Cody and Solo. I actually have no interest in seeing that, but maybe they do something like that. Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. Again, you don't have a lot of good options for him on that show. You know, obviously AJ's moving on to something else. So that's over and done with. Orton, you're not going to go to Orton now, right? It would be too soon to go right into that. Cody and Kevin Owens, I don't see that. You know, those two one-on-one. I mean, I could see Cody and Orton if Orton is still a babyface. I could see that. Cody and Owens, while Owens is a babyface, I don't know that makes sense. You know, I don't see that happening. So what other names? Okay, Logan, they're going to do Logan, so that'll be done. Who are we missing? Who else is there on the roster who could believably and conceivably between now and SummerSlam, let's say Money in the Bank, unless they rematch him and Logan? Who else is there on that SmackDown roster now, post-draft, who could be slotted in there against Cody Rhodes? I don't have the roster in front of me, so... Bobby
Lashley, LA Knight, Solo Sikoa.
Yeah, but LA Knight, they're teasing LA Knight.
I mean, he's the top. I'm just throwing top names at you.
Yeah. Oh my God, Nakamura. We already had that.
No, I mean, this is a fucking problem. This is a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
I don't know where they go from here. And we know Cody's going to walk away the champion, but it's a toss-up. They're going into a major show in Scotland. Then they got Money in the Bank, and then they got SummerSlam. Maybe it is Randy who wins King of the Ring. Maybe you're right. I have no fucking idea.
That's why I put it out there. I said, you know, I still think Gunther is going to win, but I don't think it's a guarantee, 100-0 prediction that he's going to win. You leave open the possibility that Randy Orton, who was just talking the other week about how I've done everything there is to do. I've won Royal Rumbles, I've won world titles, I've headlined WrestleMania, but I've never been King of the Ring. Maybe he wins, and out of that, we get Cody and Orton. I just think it would be too soon to go into that. You know, I would want to wait until you get closer to Money in the Bank and SummerSlam before you even think about doing that.
Yeah.
You're going to do that in Scotland?
I hope
maybe
not.
they want to get a 3-match program out of it and do it in June, July, and August. Would that not be overkill?
I don't know. I feel like doing it in Scotland kind of overshadows Drew McIntyre winning the championship.
That's what I
feel
mean.
like they want to just kind of focus him on that and have that be his moment, honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I don't know. I thought they were going to rematch AJ also, and they didn't. So would they rematch Cody and Logan? What sense would that make? If he beats Logan like he beat AJ, why rematch Logan if he didn't do the same thing with Styles? So I'm assuming they're moving on to somebody new, but I don't know. Now, there's one other possibility. Could it be a situation, we know that this Uncle Howdy faction is coming. There's been a lot of talk that we could see them in Saudi on Saturday as soon as this weekend. Do they target Cody? And if so, who is the one targeting him, right? it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because how do you get a world title program out of that?
That's a recipe for disaster, man. You're gonna put Bo Dallas, who's depicting Uncle Howdy, in a world championship match. It'll be fucking Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, Hell in a Cell all over.
It could be Eric. Well, it could be Eric Rowan. I mean, it doesn't have to be Howdy. I mean,
could be Dexter Loomis.
Well, yeah, but is that a world title? Is that the WWE title match? What, are you fucking kidding me? The guy hasn't been on television in a year. I forgot he was even employed.
I'm terribly sorry. This is not Dynamite. I'm sorry.
Well, you said it.
I gotta get my zings in, man.
Let you get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem. It's something that I have low key kind of worried about. And listen, Meltzer's been he's been buried by several people this year. He did say several weeks ago that they don't have a plan for Cody Rhodes coming out of WrestleMania. I mean, the more we go on through the year, it's looking like Meltzer was kind of correct there, because I can't put my finger on who's next. I hope they have a plan.
I disagree in this way. I'm sure they have a plan. It may not be a great plan, but I still refuse to accept that after all the time they invested in Cody and his story, and they actually changed the plans from what would have been Rock and Roman to Cody and Roman, back to Cody and Roman. So that's how invested they ended up being in that story, that they had nothing planned for him coming out of WrestleMania. I'm sure they have a plan. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be good. But I do think they have something in mind, somebody in mind. It's just not obvious right now who that's going to be. Maybe in the end they'll surprise us and we'll be like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. But I'm not seeing it.
I don't know who it is. We'll hopefully find out Saturday. We will get back to Cody and the topic of Cody in a little bit, because he was the topic of discussion from Rock's camp. And we will go over what delusional comments Brian Gewirtz had to say in regards to the infamous now SmackDown segment where Cody looked like a dumbass and gave up his championship match. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do have a note on the Bloodline here. Jacob Fatu note from SE Scoops, I don't want to say this is an exclusive, but this is from SE Scoops.
By the way, can I just say,
yeah,
shout out. I got to give a shout out here to David, who's been dropping some big bombs on us.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah,
got to give him a shout out here, man. This guy, it's like bombs away.
David, I appreciate you, brother. I mean, you are you're crazy, man. On any given week, you are as unpredictable as Tony Khan and his shoddy booking. David M with three $100 super chats. I'm going to read these now because he is generous enough to send us three $100 super chats. He says, what's the difference between AEW and a circus? The circus has better acrobatics and fewer clowns. Okay. AEW storylines have giant holes in them, such giant holes in them that even Jesse could walk through them. And he says, too much AEW hate. Come on, guys. If WWE got any more ahead, Vince would want to lay it down and shit all over it and then renege on the NDA. Oh, my God. Jesus fuck. David, listen, man. Tell me how you really feel about AEW, man. No negativity this week, man. They got a big pay-per-view, and Tony Khan's got some cool plans coming up on Sunday afternoon, man. So we'll see.
He's very excited. It's going to be a great show. Best show ever.
Yes. It's a great time to be a pro wrestling fan, says Tony Khan, as he hyped up the Collision ratings after they were up this week. You know, where were they? Where was he last week? Oh, that's right. He was burying himself in a six-pack of White Claw. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, it's funny that the Collision numbers I saw, they were up. I didn't see the overnights get leaked. Interesting.
Bro, you know, I did a deep dive. I don't want to make this about AEW. We'll talk about them in a little bit because we're going to go over Double or Nothing. You know, I did a deep dive into ratings last year, man, because people think the NBA playoffs didn't happen last year or the year before that, or year before that. You know, AEW ratings last year were between 800 and 850,000 during the NBA playoffs. You know where they are this year? Between 600 and 700,000.
A lot less than that, yeah.
That's, I don't know. I don't know what you guys call that, but I call that a fucking problem. I don't know about you guys, man. Yeah. But, listen, we'll go over AEW Double or Nothing. Dynamite has a loaded card on Wednesday. We're hoping they make the best of it, but, you know, we just want to give you guys the reality of the situation. Getting back to Cody. We'll get back to Cody in a little bit, but Cody could feud with the Bloodline. We don't know where this particular Bloodline member will end up, but according to SE Scoops, Jacob Fatu is in the news. Signed to WWE over WrestleMania 40 weekend, and we don't know what side of the Bloodline he's going to be on. Is he going to be with Jimmy and Jey Uso? Is he going to be with Solo and Guerrillas of Destiny? We don't know. So Fatu right now, according to SE Scoops, they say that there are big plans in place for him. However, the creative right now is being kept so close to the vest by Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, Ryan Callahan, who's the head writer over there, and Paul Heyman, along with Roman Reigns. Apparently, Roman Reigns has creative input on how Jacob Fatu and the rest of this Bloodline story plays out through the rest of the year. So that's the only piece of news there. I don't think that's really shocking to anybody, but the only people that would know who is in the know here are the names that I mentioned here. So we won't know until we see him on television, basically.
Yeah, and I think both of us are very much looking forward to getting him in the mix because once he gets on TV, I think the whole dynamic shifts.
You're gonna have a new favorite Samoan.
Yes, you are, and I don't dislike Solo Sikoa, but I don't buy him in this role. It's been a while now, right? It's been several weeks. He's walking around like he's some mob boss, and he's got new threads and everything, and he's trying to act the part of leader. But I feel like once Fatu arrives, you'll see what a leader looks like. I think that whether he ends up on the heel side or he ends up on the opposing side, that's the guy that you look at and go, okay, this guy could lead the charge. This right here could be the guy who, when it comes to Roman Reigns, you could see him in that type of role in the future. Solo Sikoa, he's trying to be that guy right now, and I'm just not totally on board with it. I'm not buying it right now.
So what you're saying is the term tribal chief will have a whole new meaning when Jacob Fatu hits the scene.
I believe so. Not that that's the tribal chief that they're referring to on TV necessarily, but yes, I think it will take on a whole new definition when that time comes.
So we look forward to him getting on television, hopefully soon. Don't know when, but it's going to definitely pick up business when he makes his WWE debut after a very, very long time. Clash of the Castle, quick note here on the Clash of the Castle pay-per-view. The World Heavyweight Championship match is basically, this was a rumor going into this week, and then it was kind of made official not too long ago. It will be Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. If you guys were wondering why the World Championship is not on the line in Saudi, I mean, it's Scotland, and Drew McIntyre will be winning the World Championship more than likely in his home country, and that's where they will be paying it forward. This will be his WrestleMania. And whether or not Punk gets involved remains to be seen. So I'm very much looking forward to a Monday Night Raw led by Drew McIntyre because, I love Priest. I think Priest has been leaps and bounds from where he was, where he started to where he is now. Tremendous. I just love watching that and watching a performer grow. But I don't know, Jason, how you feel about it. World champion Damian Priest is not hitting the way it should. And I think with how hot Drew McIntyre is, I think that's the only natural progression here.
Yeah, and I think also if you pay attention to some of the segments, backstage segments on Raw last night, you could see things are starting to kind of heat up a little bit, I feel like, with him and Finn Balor.
Yeah.
And I feel like Balor will play a role in some way in that match, and that could cause his downfall as the World Heavyweight Champion, and then he goes on to, I think, ultimately feud with Finn Balor, and Priest ends up probably out of the Judgment Day. So I think that's where they're headed with this story. I think it probably happens in Scotland. Again, I'm happy for him also having the chance to run with it, but Drew is the person who I think, timing is everything. And it just doesn't feel like it's Priest's time to have a long title run and really kind of take Raw as his own when you've got McIntyre right there. And of course, the setting where they're going to be, it's just too good to pass up. Yeah. So yeah, and he's doing the best work of his career. So I'm on board the Drew train. Punk will absolutely be there. Punk is, when you say we'll see if Punk gets involved, he'll be involved. Doesn't mean that he's going to cost him the title. He may try to. I can't imagine that Punk is not going to be in Scotland at that show. And so it comes down to, does he screw him for a second time, or does Drew ultimately win the title? And if Drew wins the title, then I guess that means when Punk comes back, he's challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship. I just hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when that situation comes to television. Drew McIntyre, is he going to be the champion that Raw needs, or are we going to go and have Summer of Punk 3 all over again? I don't know. So we'll see. I know I'm looking forward to television picking up business because right now nothing really feels all that important. And when McIntyre and Punk are there, I mean, the intensity level just gets taken up a notch. You guys, I know, have felt that as well. So I'm very much looking forward to them being back on television, both full-time when they're not injured. Double or Nothing. Let's shift gears over to AEW. We got another pay-per-view this weekend. It's going to be a busy weekend. We got a Saudi show in the afternoon, and then Memorial Day. We'll be awake for Memorial Day Monday because the show ain't going to end till 12 o'clock, and Jason and I are probably not going to get to bed till 4 o'clock. Usually the case with these AEW pay-per-views. But Double or Nothing is happening from Las Vegas. I wish I was there. They are now promoting, Jason, this as a triple main event for Sunday night. Swerve Strickland, Christian Cage, Willow, Nightingale, Mercedes, Moné, and then the Anarchy in the arena. Young Bucks, Kazuchika Okada, Jack Perry against Bryan Danielson, FTR, and the New York favorite, the MTA's favorite, Darby Allin. But we'll talk about that in a little bit, man. How you feeling about this show as far as comparing it to what Double or Nothing has been over the 5 years? Are you more excited, less excited, you're neutral, you don't give a shit? I don't know, man. Me personally going into this, I have despised television for the most part. There's just nothing that's jumping off the page to me. Nowhere up and down this card am I excited about anything but Adam Copeland and Malachi Black in this barbed wire steel cage match. That's all I care about. But how are you feeling about the excitement levels coming into the show on Sunday?
I think the excitement level for this show as compared to the past Vegas shows is down. But I think on paper, as is the case with pretty much every AEW pay-per-view, look at the card, and it's a very good card on paper. So I don't have any doubt that the matches are going to deliver. The question is, what, as far as the outcomes and the stories coming out of the matches, are they going to take it in the direction that they need to take it in? So, and we'll get into it, I assume here match by match, but again, lower excitement level. I'm still looking forward to the show. I have certain matches I'm looking forward to more than others. One of them, for example, is Mercedes and Willow.
Yeah.
Willow Nightingale is excellent. She's a great baby face, but she's also very good in the ring. Mercedes, you and I both know, what she can do in the ring when she is healthy. She has not been healthy for a while, and this is going to be her first match back in a year. So I think with her back at 100%, and she knows that the spotlight is on her, right? And they're going to be in Vegas. It's Double or Nothing. It's a title match. So I think she's going to be on her A game. And I think those two are going to go out there and kill it like they were doing a year ago when they were wrestling until she got hurt. And then unfortunately the match went to hell. I'm looking forward to that just because we finally get her back in the ring. All the hype around Mercedes and all the talk about is she going to be a game changer or not? I think it's pretty well established at this point. There is no such thing in AEW as a singular game changer. There is no one person short of, a John Cena or a Roman Reigns or Punk makes amends and comes back who will make an impact on day one. Mercedes did not make an impact on day one. Okada did not make an impact on day one. Ospreay did not really make an impact on day one, and Ospreay is fantastic. So I think that if you take all the hype away, you strip it all away, at the end of the day, Mercedes can be a very important part of that division. She could be the heel. All your baby faces, could have to run through her. There's so many great fresh matches for her to have. But it all starts here, because people have been saying, well, what's all the hype about, right? She hasn't done anything. Well, because she hasn't wrestled. She's been around for 2 months now, 2.5 months. She's done shit. Now the rubber meets the road. She'll finally step in the ring and show people, I hope, what the hype around her is really all about. So I'm looking forward to that match on this show. That's one match I'm looking forward to.
Listen, I guess we can start there, being that we have, how many matches? We're looking at maybe 9-10 matches here total, probably. Yeah. TBS Championship. This is one of the 3 big matches that they're hyping up in this triple main event for Double or Nothing. Willow Nightingale will defend the TBS Championship against Mercedes Moné. This is her first match in AEW. This is her first match in a full calendar year, honestly, since getting injured last year. I am very torn on this. And I have not been the biggest Willow fan. When she first introduced herself to the AEW audience, I was not a big Willow fan. It was definitely a learning process to know who she is, what she's about, get invested in her character, see her work, see her promo. I am at a point right now where I do think that she has superstar potential to lead that division at some point in her career. Right now is not that time. She is the TBS champion, and with the work that she's done, Jason, I don't On one hand, I don't want to see her lose the championship because it's unfair with how her body of work has come across. It's been fantastic. Her in-ring work has been fantastic. Her promo work has been even better, in my honest opinion. To take the championship off of her so soon because it's Mercedes, it's kind of fucked up. You know, I don't have any better way to put it. It's kind of fucked up, honestly. On one hand, I don't want to see her lose, but then, you know, the reality of the situation is I'm not a dummy. Tony Khan is paying Mercedes what? If we can make a fucking logical guesstimation, she's probably one of the highest paid people in the entire industry, never mind AEW. Does Tony Khan pay her all that money and then not put a championship on her on day one, which is laughable in its own right? Like, how the fuck did she get here? What did she do? This is her first match. Why did she get a championship match? But at the end of the day, I don't see Mercedes losing this match. But if I had the pen, I'm booking this in a way where both ladies are strong. Willow gets to keep her championship. And whoever attacked Mercedes is coming forward and starting a program with Mercedes because I don't think she needs the TBS championship.
Well, I think your point about all the money that Tony Khan is paying her, that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't see this going any way other than Mercedes wins the championship. So from the moment she came into the company, I think that title had her name written all over it. And is it fair? No, it's not fair. The whole logic behind this match even being set up is ridiculous. How did she get this title match? Do we really have a good explanation for why she's getting this title match? Did she make a comment in her first night, her first promo, that it was in her contract that her first match has to be for a title?
I don't know. Maybe Tony Khan has one of them golden eggs that Vince McMahon had, and she made a wish. I don't know. Yeah,
like a genie lamp or something. You know, for a company that's still, maybe they don't anymore. I don't know. They've gone back and forth so many times. But for a company that talks about rankings, to gift someone a title match like this is comical. So the premise of the match, in that this woman comes in, has done nothing to actually earn a title match, and yet she's being gifted one, is ridiculous. I understand them doing the match, though, because there's history between them, and I'm looking forward to the match. I don't see any outcome here other than Mercedes winning the title. You know, she's getting paid a shitload of money, just like Okada was paid a shitload of money, and within a month, right, he had the Continental title. So it's not going to be any different, I think, with Mercedes. She's going to go in there and win the championship. You do still have that mystery that's kind of hanging over everything of who attacked her. I honestly almost forgot about that because I just don't give a shit about that aspect of the story. And they
probably forgot about that too. Never mind.
They probably did. Maybe it's for the better. Just going back to what that segment was, I'd like to forget that. Here's what I proposed. Here's my idea for this. Because I'm glad at least that they realized that Mercedes is the heel in this. So I don't know if that was the plan the entire time, or if it just was a case where they say, okay, we see how the fans are viewing this, so we'll go with it. We'll make her the heel.
No, they went with the wind here.
Okay, well, let's say they went with the win. I'm glad they went with the win, because she comes out there and she's talking about how she's the CEO and she's all obnoxious, and Willow is just so likable. I mean, nobody wants to boo Willow Nightingale. Come on. So they're in the right roles. But what I think is missing here, and what I think would really be a good thing for Mercedes and the person that's with her, is you pair her up with somebody who can be basically her bodyguard, basically her muscle. And my proposal has been that Camille would be the perfect person for that spot, right? We've heard reports about how she signed a contract supposedly months ago back in February, still hasn't debuted. People wondering why. How come she hasn't popped up on TV yet? This may be it. This may be why. Because I could see her debuting in this spot on Sunday and assisting Mercedes in winning the TBS title. You know, she goes around calling herself the CEO. And I said this the other day. I said, well, what does that mean? Right? She comes out on television, I'm the CEO. What the fuck does that mean?
You gotta be the boss of something, right?
Be the boss of something, right? Bosses have employees. So why not link her up with somebody? Camille, for Camille, for those who don't know, former NWA Women's Champion for 500 and something days. She's very good. Apparently she had an NXT offer in hand and opted reportedly to sign with AEW, but has yet to make her debut. Debuting her in this spot, first of all, I think it gets more heat on Mercedes, that she gets to run around and be obnoxious, but have somebody kind of, lording over her, standing behind her and watching her back and fighting some of her battles for her. But it puts Camille in a great spot too, because Mercedes is going to get visibility on TV. So everywhere she goes, Camille goes. It's like the Diesel-Shawn dynamic. And I just think it would work. I think it would work in this situation. You get somebody new on the roster, and then eventually when they have the split, Camille ends up as a big babyface out of it. Maybe she ends up beating Mercedes to win the title down the road. That's what I would do. I think they might do that. And I think whatever they do, I still think Mercedes is walking out with that title on Sunday.
Well, now you know why he's the commissioner of House of Glory. Look at this fucking guy.
There you go. There you go, man.
I like it. Listen, I mean, that makes complete sense. And we haven't seen Camille yet. And Tony Khan was actually interviewed today on the Rocker Morning Show. This is WRKR 107.7. No idea where they're from, but Tony Khan said this in regards to Double or Nothing, which kind of goes along with what Jason just said here. He says, it's a great time to be an AEW fan. It's a great time to jump into the product. If you haven't watched AEW and you haven't watched in a while, there's a lot of cool stuff happening right now. And then he says that there's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening on Sunday night. So, listen, I could sit here and rag on Tony Khan and the creative process. One thing I will never take away from him, and I mean this in all seriousness, is that I coined him Mr. Pay-Per-View. I could probably count maybe one or two AEW pay-per-views in the 5 years that have bombed. One of them being in December on Long Island for World's End. I thought that I was physically in the building. I was fucking bored to tears through most of the show. But that's one of maybe two or three completely bombed shows. This man knows how to put on a fucking pay-per-view. This guy knows how to deliver surprises. This guy knows how to, make a big impact on pay-per-view. I mean, you're paying $50 for it. Why not? He knows what to do. I do see that happening. I absolutely could envision that happening. And I tell you what, Jason, fucking Christ, Mercedes needs that. Honestly, I don't think she's... a lot of people kind of souring on her attitude, her dancing. I think a lot of people, and this could be the WWE elitist side coming out, just kind of poking fun at AEW that she hasn't really made much of an impact, but we know the value that she has and what she can bring to that division. I mean, if they play their cards right and they do that Diesel-Shawn Michaels dynamic, I think that's something that could play out very well on TV. She could run that whole fucking division. That's exactly what she should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think it fits that character perfectly, and it would work, too, because that's how Camille debuted in the NWA. Yeah, that was the first time I saw her, and they debuted her as the insurance policy for Nick Aldis. I mean, she didn't speak for months. It was a whole thing online, like, what does she sound like? Nobody knew what her voice sounded like, because she just stood there, She didn't speak, and she beat people up, and it worked. And there's no reason it can't work here.
I will see. I like it. I'm going with Mercedes. Jason's going with Mercedes. And we have a new TBS champion on the horizon on Sunday night. Toni Storm. Let's stick with the ladies. Toni Storm and Serena Deeb. This is for the AEW Women's World Championship. I like Serena Deeb. I like that Serena Deeb is back on television. I don't really care about Serena Deeb's story. I was not emotionally invested. I love her, and I feel very sorry for her why she was out. It's a real life story, too, which they tried to get some sympathy heat for Serena Deeb, but
it did not work.
I mean, Jason, holy shit. I mean, Toni Storm, I said this, and I had Britt Baker in my replies, I mean, I said Toni is absolutely one of the most, not only over characters, but everything that she does as far as that character is concerned, from the voice to the tone to the delivery to the jokes, the wittiness. I mean, she may single-handedly be the best character to come out in AEW or of AEW in all 5 years. That's how great she's been in this role. And honestly, I loved, to a point where people were making fun of me about reaching into her DMs and getting her number. I loved rocker Toni Storm, man. I would not ever see Toni Storm in that way ever again with how great she's fucking killed this character. I mean, she's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I would think by now maybe it would run its course, but every week, she's in one of these segments in the back or doing something, and it just reminds me of how fucking great she still is at this character, because she's so committed to it, and she gets it.
Yeah.
She gets it maybe more than anybody else right now in wrestling that's obviously playing a character. So this could go on for a while yet, but this is basically Dynasty, with her and Thunder Rosa, and I like Thunder Rosa. I know you do. But Thunder Rosa was in there for one purpose. It was to be a warm body to put in there with Toni Storm so that Toni Storm could beat somebody and then move on to the next. And that's what this is. Serena Deeb has no chance of winning the championship on Sunday. I usually don't say no chance because you never know. There's no chance of walking out of there with that title on Sunday. I think the ultimate story here is Toni and Mariah May. My guess is they're building to something for Wembley, would be my guess. And maybe they do a match and a title change on that show with Mariah May winning the championship from her. So whatever they're going to do with her between now and then, it's just buying time until they get to that match. I was hoping by now that we would have, Jamie Hayter back. And I don't know what's going on with her. It's been almost a year since we've seen her. I don't know if they're holding her back and she's going to come back with Britt Baker, who's also been out. I saw a picture of Britt recently. I think she was with DDP doing some DDP yoga, and she looks like
fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, she looks great. So I don't know how close she is to being cleared and when she's going to come back, or if she's going to be doing her own thing and not with Jamie anymore. So the quicker we can get them back, and especially Jamie, who was champion and then got hurt and they took it from her. But not knowing when she'll be back, I think Toni Mariah is the way to go. And Serena Deeb, I'm glad she's back, but she's not winning that title.
A lot of people got Jamie Hayter in the back of their mind with All In being discussed, with her coming back, and she's from that part of the world, and, a natural match with Toni Storm makes sense there for her to get her championship back. But a lot of people don't understand that Mariah May is also from the United Kingdom as well, so it's going to fit just as perfectly because they have a built-in storyline that they've been stretching out for months now. Her winning the championship over there could be just as big of a big deal to AEW in comparison to you guys wanting Jamie Hayter back and doing the same thing. Plus, I feel like a lot of this is going to play out at Forbidden Door. I feel like the Mariah Mina Shirakawa thing, they have a group, or they had a group over in Stardom. I forgot the name of the group that they were a part of, but they were a stable or stable mates. And I feel like Mina Shirakawa's relationship with Mariah May is going to factor into the jealousy of Toni Storm coming out, and that's going to lead to a breakup of some sort.
Well, I was going to say, all the horny bastards in the chat. Can you imagine if Mariah May wins the world title, what her and Mina are going to do in the middle of the ring? Everybody should be rooting for this to happen. My God. I can't believe it. It's going to be amazing. Mariah May wins a match on TV and they're drinking champagne in the middle of the ring. They're kissing each other in the middle. Imagine if she wins the championship at Wembley Stadium.
It's crazy.
Come on.
It's crazy to even think about. I like where they're going with it. I see where they're going with it. Is it something that is keeping me invested week to week? Not really. There are slow weeks. There are good weeks. Mariah May's been featured more than any other female on the roster on television.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a reason for that, and she's very good.
Yes.
So it's not just, she's just a pretty face. No, she could work her ass off. So the idea of her winning the women's world title is not far-fetched at all.
No. So Toni Storm is going to beat Serena Deeb. Should be a great match. Serena Deeb is an incredible professional wrestler. I know Dax of FTR themselves have basically claimed that she's the Bret Hart of the women's division, which is a huge statement there, but she lives up to it. She's incredible. But Toni Storm is going to walk out the champion. We will go with Roderick Strong and Will Ospreay next. AEW International Championship. AEW seemingly forgot this match existed for 3 weeks, only to give us a face-to-face promo on Collision, geeks. I know a lot of people don't think I watch. Where was I on Saturday night? I was watching Collision on my couch with an old-fashioned. So I saw the face-to-face that Roderick and Will Ospreay had. I thought it was great. Too little, too late. And the match itself is uber predictable because nobody believes that Roderick Strong is going to walk out as the international champion. And we go back to, talking about Mercedes winning the TBS championship and Swerve Strickland's the AEW world champion and Will Ospreay winning the international championship. Going back to what they started this year, Jason, AEW Dynasty. This is their dynasty. This is what they're building. So it's not by, it's not by happenstance that this happened. So Will Ospreay is going to win the international championship, in my honest opinion. But even though it's predictable, the Undisputed Kingdom, I feel like we need some solid answers as to where we're going with this. Adam Cole, we don't know when he's coming back. The Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions there, the Kingdom, they're as worthless as the fucking lint in my pocket. And Roderick Strong, You know, he hasn't really had a blow-away performance as international champion here either. But the wild card that I'm focusing on here is Wardlow.
The match he had with Kyle was pretty good.
It was good. I mean, again, I didn't care.
Match.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the story is compelling. I'm just saying as far as like in-ring performances, I mean, I thought that was solid.
I would rather see Kyle in the Undisputed Kingdom, but I mean that's just my preference. Yeah. But the wild card that I want to focus on here is Wardlow, because if you guys remember a few weeks back, Adam Cole had this sit-down segment where he was sitting in this Victorian-like chair and he was reading story time with Adam Cole, and it was a great fucking segment. I don't know why they didn't continue doing something like that. And he documented Jason Wardlow and Wardlow's new role. He failed the Undisputed Kingdom. He didn't win the championship. Basically, Adam Cole wanted Wardlow to win the championship to basically give it to Adam Cole. That's what the whole premise of that promo was. And with him failing, Adam Cole demoted him basically to keeping a watchful eye over all the other Undisputed Kingdom members so that they maintain their championships. Do you feel like that may come into play here, and could we see some forwarding of that story with Wardlow here, because Will Ospreay is absolutely winning the championship here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that this match could serve for two reasons, really. Number one, put the title on Will Ospreay. There's some people who are upset that why is he not already challenging for the world title? That doesn't bother me, because you don't need to rush him into the world title picture. This is Swerve's time now. And even if Swerve only has a few months, you're not going to rush Will Ospreay into the world title picture right away. There's no need for that. He could win the international title. The international title, what value at the moment does the international title have? Not a lot. You know, it's not looked at as some great sought-after prize in AEW. Roddy's a great wrestler, but does anybody really give a shit? No. Will Ospreay winning that championship automatically elevates it. And I made this comment the other day. It's not that the title makes the man makes the title. So him winning that championship will automatically make it something valuable in a way that it's not right now. And it does not preclude him from challenging for the world title at Wembley if that's what they want him to do. You could do champion against champion, title for title if you want to, and Will could win both and then give up the international. There's any number of ways you can go with that. So just because he wins the title this weekend doesn't mean that, okay, well, he can't challenge for the world title in August. Of course he can. The other purpose behind this match is, to your point, Adam Cole made that comment and said, okay, you failed. I've been calling him a fucking failure for months. We already knew he was a fucking failure. And again, it's not his fault. But so Adam Cole literally said that on TV. You had one job and you couldn't do that job. So now your only job is to make sure that everybody else in the group holds on to their gold. So now Roddy is going to lose the title. They're going to put the blame on Wardlow, and it will further that story along, because at some point Wardlow is going to have to break away from these guys. Well, that doesn't happen unless he continues to fail and piss off Adam Cole. So you get a belt on Will Ospreay and you further this story. I mean, I'm not really enamored with this story, but it's a story they're telling. So it can serve two purposes. I think that's absolutely going to happen. And I think it would be ridiculous with, the momentum that he has had since making his official debut. I know he was technically in AEW before this, but Ospreay really only made his official debut a few months ago. That his first loss would come to Roderick Strong, in an undercard title match would be fucking ridiculous. So, of course, he's going to win the championship. And the Wardlow story, the only question is, how long do they drag this out for? Are they going to drag it out until we get a little bit closer to when MJF is going to be ready to come back? Because I still think when MJF comes back, we may get this sort of uneasy alliance with him and Wardlow. Both taking on the Undisputed
Kingdom. But who knows when Max
Kingdom.
is going to be back? I mean, we could be looking at later, like at the end of the year. We're going to prolong this till the end of the year. By that time, nobody's going to give a shit about this.
I don't know that anybody gives a shit now, let alone at the end of the year. Do you?
I know.
Are you really hyped to see this story play out?
No,
I mean, come on.
don't.
Okay, so there you go. So it doesn't matter. So, but that's my only question.
I would rather MJF go after Swerve, to be quite honest with you. Forget Adam Cole.
Well, I would rather MJF, basically stand up to the Elite and be part of that story. Because the Elite is running roughshod over everybody in this company. You got Darby, who came back. He's like, he's an AEW original. So is MJF. In a perfect world, he'd be part of that Anarchy in the Arena match this weekend. So I don't know exactly when he'll be back or how long they're going to try to drag this out for. But as far as this match, this weekend, that's how I see it going down.
One thing that I hope Tony Khan catches wind of here, if Ospreay is going to win the International Championship, which I think everybody's in agreement here, is he going to have open challenges every week? Is another excuse just to get Will Ospreay on television and wrestle every week? Or is there actually going to be some substantial story with Will Ospreay and the International Championship? Because in my honest opinion, even though Orange Cassidy had a 25, 26, 27 match streak or whatever it was of title defenses, and they used that as, you know, he's had another title defense, his body's breaking down, is he going to last through this next defense? They used it as a story, but they can't go to that well so many times and reuse that fucking angle over and over again. I would rather see Ospreay bring some prestige and some, I guess, luster to the International Championship. To me, I feel like you defend it more. I feel like that luster goes away. I don't want to see Ospreay wrestle every week, though I want to see him on TV every week. A good promo. He's a very good promo. I want to see him project his emotion on television, start a story, do an angle. We don't need to see a match with fucking Shane Taylor or Lee Moriarty or this one or that one. Fucking Boulder of whatever that tag team. I mean, Bear Bronson, whatever the fuck their name is.
Bronson, Bareback, whatever the fuck his name is.
We don't need that, please. So seriously, we have enough open challenges in this company. We got the Cope Open. We got the International Championship. We got Okada defending his championship against anybody. Stop.
Yeah, but
Ospreay's better than
that's exactly what we're going to get. That's exactly
of course
what
it
we're
is.
going to get.
I mean,
Ospreay's going to be he's going to be the fighting champion, and
we don't have them already.
And Tony Khan is going to come up with this week's dream match. It's going to be Will Ospreay defending against this person and that person, and it'll be maybe not every week, but on most weeks. That is my guess as far as how that title is going to be defended.
Man,
because they can't help themselves.
Not to take anything away from Roddy, because he's a great fucking wrestler. In your opinion, do you see this as, especially where Ospreay came from, Takeshita and then Bryan, is this a downgrade on pay-per-view for Ospreay?
Yes. I said this the other day. It's a step down. And it's not a knock on Roddy's ability, but for what Ospreay was doing and for what he's coming off, we mentioned Takeshita. He had that big match with Bryan, right, at Dynasty. And now he's challenging for an undercard title against Roderick Strong in the middle of the card on one of the traditionally bigger AEW shows of the year. That is a step down from what he has been doing. No matter which way you slice it, and I know he's probably going to walk in there and win a championship, it still feels to me like a step down.
Somebody was, I read this today, and I don't want to deviate too far away from the Double or Nothing thing, but Jason mentioned this last week, and we talked about this last week. Jason mentioned that the injury list that AEW has right now, why everything feels so cold, the injury list that AEW has right now, you could actually have a whole nother pay-per-view with the injury list that they have. I want to read you some of these names. Adam Cole, Bandito, Danhausen apparently was, he Instagrammed something that he's free. I don't know what that means, but Danhausen's on the list. Britt Baker, Chuck Taylor, Eddie Kingston, we'll get to him in his story in a little bit. Jamie Hayter, Jeff Hardy, Juice Robinson, Julia Hart, Keith Lee, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Mark Quinn, Miro, MJF, Ortiz, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ruby Soho, Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky, and Wheeler Yuta.
And Britt Baker.
Look at those. Look at that fucking injury list. WWE's list is no better, by the way. They got a lot of injuries too, but AEW is fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, it's a laundry list of names, and that's why also if they can get back even half of those names in these next couple of months, as we head into Wembley, that could really help. I think spark more excitement in the product. Of course, you still need compelling stories. It's not enough to just put people on TV. But you look at the sheer number of people, and you have to think that Tony Khan had plans for at least some of these people.
Yes.
And those plans get blown up when people get hurt. So now you got to pivot. You got to go to a plan B, plan C. And it's tough. It puts him in a tough spot. Nobody said the job was easy. But it's just ridiculous. How many people at the same time have gone down. And I'm sure, by the way, that list you just read, we're still probably missing a couple of names that aren't on there. But there's nothing you can do. Injuries are part of the game. Some of those injuries took place outside of AEW, like the Eddie Kingston one.
Yep.
But you just have to adapt. And unfortunately, the product takes a hit, but they could be in a good position. You get some of those big names back in the next 2 or 3 months heading towards, the end of the summer. And I think that could help. But you got to have something lined up for them to do that people care about or interested in.
Moving on with what I thought was going to be a world championship match, but is now not. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship match is now an eliminator match. Jon Moxley.
It was never a title match.
They never announced it as a title match.
No.
I was assuming it was going to be a title match just based on what we saw on television with Takeshita mentioning that he wants the title around his waist, but it's now an eliminator match. Jon Moxley will not defend the title, and he will go one-on-one with Konosuke Takeshita. I don't want to get too boisterous here, but this shit sucks, honestly. I don't know why we're doing an eliminator match on a fucking pay-per-view. Meanwhile, Jon Moxley and Konosuke Takeshita, honestly, if they wanted to do this, Jason, it should have been on TV to lead to a match at Forbidden Door, not to have it happen at a pay-per-view in Vegas and then lead to Forbidden Door. I feel like the only reason why they're doing it on pay-per-view is because they really didn't have anything else to line this card up with, and it's a big match to a point where, it does make the overall show better. But the IWGP Championship in an eliminator match, man, I don't know how the fan base over in New Japan is going to feel about that. Is that accustomed to happening normally or no? Non-title matches like this?
No, not normally. Let me ask you this, and I could, maybe I'm forgetting. We had that IWGP title match on Dynamite with Powerhouse Hobbs
Sadly,
and Jon
yes.
Moxley. We know what happened in that match. Unfortunately, Hobbs got hurt. Did Hobbs win a match to earn that title shot, or did they just announce the match? I honestly don't remember if they just announced it or if there was something that he won to earn that shot.
For all the AEW elitists out there that feel like I don't watch enough AEW Dynamite, I know this answer. No, Hobbs did not win the match or a match. I think Don Callis was on commentary and said that he pulled some strings with New Japan management to get Will Hobbs this championship match on Dynamite that night.
I see. So what I was going to say is, how is it that Don Callis can pull strings to get a title match for Powerhouse Hobbs, but evidently he can't do the same for Takeshita? And Takeshita gets the eliminator match.
Bro, listen, man, I may have to dump you, man. You're making too much sense here.
Did he only have the one favor to cash in? Maybe that's what it was.
Tony, what are you doing, man? Come on, bro. Oh.
Well, here's the thing. So I think it's going to be a very good match. Takeshita's fucking great, and I have no doubt the match will be fun. It'll be good. I was looking at this originally and saying, okay, well, if it's non-title, then Takeshita should win. There's no reason not to give him a big win here.
Agreed.
And then you can do a title match. I don't know if they want to do it at Forbidden Door, if they want to do it on Dynamite, 2 weeks later. But then I was thinking, we are heading into Forbidden Door. And I wonder if they are considering the possibility of doing champion against champion, because I'm looking ahead for Swerve. Like, what's next for Swerve? If we have this Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up, would they do Swerve and Mox because it's Forbidden Door and you do champion against champion? But to me, that just presents too many problems.
Yeah.
I feel like politically, because I don't see, if you're going to have both titles on the line, how the hell do you do that finish? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how practical that is. So I'm going to stick with my original prediction, which is that it's non-title. Takeshita should win. If he doesn't win and Moxley just beats him in an eliminator match, then this just doesn't make any fucking sense to me why this is even happening. So I'm going to go with Takeshita for the win, because otherwise it just doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Man, you can't be asking too many questions here, man. They may pull your media.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I ever applied for media, I might be worried about that, but I never have for either company. So I don't even know what the process is. I don't even know who to go to.
Whatever. You're probably blacklisted like the rest of us are. I don't know.
I like being here, so I have to cover this shit. You know what I mean? I don't need to be there. I need to be here.
I agree with you. I think Takeshita should win if this is the case. I don't know. I heard rumors of Moxley potentially defending against Naito at Forbidden Door, and I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Gabe Kidd call out Jon Moxley or someone in AEW after he defeated Eddie Kingston? I don't know. Maybe I read that somewhere. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't recall.
No. I don't know what Moxley would be doing at Forbidden Door, honestly. I mean, if you're going to do Takeshita and Moxley at Forbidden Door, sign me up. Honestly, it's a great match. It does fit the whole Forbidden Door concept, which right now is It's not really original anymore, and they're running into a lot of fucking problems to keep it fresh every year. CMLL and AAA and whoever else they want to get involved is not going to do the trick because it's just going to make it more worthless in the end, honestly. And they basically suck New Japan dry of everything, so it's basically AEW is New Japan. So why are we doing a Forbidden Door anymore?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, people have asked me, do I think that the event has jumped the shark?
Yeah.
And I think that it would benefit from either, being AEW and another promotion, but then what other promotion is there that would even get me excited?
Impact.
To see it. Yeah. But be serious.
That's a no. That's a no.
But be serious. So I think that it has run its course. And again, like you said, they've plucked so many top names from that company. And I say plucked, but I mean, contracts come up, guys make the choice to leave. Ultimately, it's their call. But it really does feel like they've picked the bones. And it just doesn't have the same cachet that it did. At first, it was this unique thing. Ooh, the Forbidden Door is being open. Well, the door's been open now for a few years. And unless you got a really big attraction, I just don't think it works. And the problem is, unless they have that big attraction, we're in for 4 weeks of television promoting this show. And if they don't have a couple of big attractions for that show, it's going to be a tough month. If they're promoting that show and it's just a bunch of matches that people don't really care about. So I hope they've got a couple of big ones lined up that can get me excited. But I'm already a little worried. I'm kind of dreading already what this might look like here as far as TV in the month of June as they build up to that show.
Yeah, I'm not overly excited about it. The last I saw, ticket sales were actually very well for it, being that it's a New York show, and I'm literally 15 minutes from the UBS Arena. I've decided not to go because I don't really have any interest in seeing what they potentially have lined up there. So Moxley is a big question mark. I feel like Takeshita should win this. He needs a big win. And Moxley losing as IWGP World Champion, I want to see the discussion on social media after he loses as being their World Champion. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Takeshita was actually in the news. I don't know if this was in character. I would hope that it is because
I think it
okay. Takeshita says he has stopped having fun in wrestling since moving to America. I won't read the whole thing, but apparently Takeshita said this in regards to this feeling that he's had recently. Discrimination is not the word here, but unfortunately there's a lack of space for an Asian person to be on a TV show watched by Americans. No matter how good my condition was, nor the amount of matches I was put in, or how many times they said my match was good, it felt like I couldn't make it into the starting lineup, to put it in baseball terms. I didn't have any fun wrestling ever since I got to America. The effort was bearing fruit, but I didn't feel the enjoyment. It was the most mentally exhausting period in all my 12 years of wrestling. However, when I stopped having fun, my matches were better received, and I gained more recognition, and it's not proportional. End quote. I initially thought that he was maybe in character. I would hope not. I mean, why would he go out there and say that if he was actively employed by AEW? I think they're pretty high on him, but I would say he's in character here. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going out there and I don't give a shit. I'm not having fun, but you know what? They're paying me. So what the fuck? I think maybe he's weaving in some real feelings he had initially, maybe when he came over. But do I believe that he believes that? No, I don't. I think it's mostly in character.
Yeah, AEW usually takes these weird, bizarre routes to get characters over. This may be their way of developing some sort of character for Takeshita away from what happens on television because he's not getting much television time to begin with.
Yeah, well, again, he was a babyface, and then why did he go heel and join the Callis family?
Yeah.
Right? Did we ever really get a good explanation for it? No, but what he said there, maybe that's the explanation. You know, that's why he went to the dark side, and that's why he went under the management of Don Callis, because he was putting in the effort, it wasn't bearing fruit, he was having good matches, but nothing was happening, and so he stopped caring and stopped having fun, and, you know, now he's, you know, with Callis, and that's what I think this is.
Let's get some of these nothing matches out of the way before we hit some of the big ones that are still left on this card. Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta has been announced for the show. Trent Beretta, I believe Orange Cassidy, did he win the first match? I don't even remember.
Orange Cassidy not only won the first match, but he no-sold that pile driver after the match.
Correct.
How can you forget?
I mean, pardon me for not caring. Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta. Trent Beretta this is the topic of discussion here. I think everybody's kind of feeling the same way. Orange Cassidy has been seen, not by his choice, obviously, with Don Callis. Don Callis has kind of butt his nose into Orange Cassidy's business, put his arm around Orange Cassidy, maybe giving him some pointers about what to do and how to handle Trent. But I think at the end of all this, Jason, and Jesse and I talked about this on Wednesday, this may be one huge ploy by Trent Beretta to get into the Don Callis family, or Don Callis kind of fuck over Orange Cassidy and reveal that he really is enlisting Trent Beretta for the Don Callis family, because it really doesn't make any sense to have a heel Orange Cassidy on AEW television. So I'm going with Trent winning this, and he joins the Don Callis family. Yeah,
Trent wins, and I think it's Tatanka trying to convince everybody that Lex Luger joined the $1 Million Corporation.
That's what it is. That's a fucking throwback. Throwback there,
the Tatanka angle, and then in the end, it was him who ended up joining, and I think that's what they're doing here with Trent. If I had to take a guess.
There you go. I mean, will you guys be any more interested with Trent Beretta that he's in the Don Callis family? I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say no. Nobody's going to give a shit.
Maybe they could do the hotline like they did back in '94. They actually had a hotline number, and people could call in if they thought that Lex sold out. Right?
Listen, man, I call those hotlines.
$4.99, $1.99 for each additional minute. Get your parents' permission before calling. Did you get your parents' permission before calling?
Of course I did.
Okay. All right, good.
They didn't like it, but, once in a blue moon, they let me have a $4.99 phone call, yeah.
I didn't. I called a lot of hotlines back then, but that's for another day.
Chris Jericho, he will be defending more than likely. It's not official yet because we have whatever the fuck they booked for Dynamite. I think it's
The Learning Tree.
Brian Keith versus Shibata versus Hook. Triple threat match. The winner of this gets Chris Jericho for the FTW Championship, the For the World Championship, which is still not recognized as a real championship in AEW, but here we are. I don't know why Brian Keith's involved in this. Shibata apparently wants a shot at Jericho, so they played something out with Hook and Shibata on television. I mean, if you care about this, God bless you. I wish you'd go find a fucking hobby. But Jericho and Hook, I can't see, if this match happens again, Jason, I can't see Hook not winning the championship back, which would beg the question, what does Jericho do with the Learning Tree character after that? Because if he loses, who wants to learn anything from him? He's a fucking loser.
Oh, I think that's a statement. I thought you were asking me a question. No, I mean, look, I would love it if he lost the title and then took a sabbatical for a little while and went away. Yes. But this is going to be their third match, and I don't see the need for there to be a fourth. So I am certainly hoping
it's been 3 matches?
Well, they had the first match was on, I think, like a random Dynamite months ago, and Hook beat him. And then Jericho beat him to win the belt. This is number 3. So, yeah. And I don't see the need for there to be a number 4. So
oh my God.
I sure hope he wins the belt, and then we're done with this, and we can move on. I guess the only question is, does Taz get involved physically? I think not. I know he's been having some knee issues.
He's
all
Taz.
Beat up. Yeah, no, we love Taz, and he's all beat up, so I don't know if he'll physically get involved in this. He's been part of the storyline, but he hasn't really taken... He kind of took kind of a bump. Not really. He kind of got pushed into the ropes. Yeah, he got shoved. So I don't know what his role may end up being in this. Maybe he could put the Taz mission on somebody. I could see him putting the Taz mission on Jericho maybe after the match. But I think Hook wins the title, and we move on from this, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. And hopefully Hook leaves AEW and goes and joins NXT, because I don't really see him ascending the heights any further than he is right now. But that's just my personal preference, as that's the rumor going around that he may be coming up on a contract. I don't know. Jericho, I'm not feeling it. Though I feel like he's slowly getting it over, but I don't think it's going to amount to anything, really. I think the general consensus is, please retire. Is legit. Go away for a little bit.
But remember what he said, if he did that, then he would end up in every pro wrestling Hall of Fame known to man. And he said he's not ready for that yet, so he can't retire.
Oh, joy. Yeah, Lucky us. Lucky us. Where Big Bill goes from there, I don't know. I love Big Bill. I think Big Bill is great. He's got a huge upside. What he's going to do under Jericho, I don't know. He may get sucked into the Jericho vortex, and we may not get Big Bill the way that we expect. But Jericho Hook, probably going to happen at the show. And Hook winning that FTW championship is probably likely. Bullet Club Gold apparently is going to be on the card in some way, shape, or form for the AEW Trios Championships. I still don't know why we have fucking Jay White carrying around a goddamn baseball bat with 3 championships. There's 9 fucking titles being carried around by all 3 of these guys. I don't know why. Yeah. If I was at the media scrum, I'd ask Tony Khan, I thought we were unifying these championships. Why are we carrying around pink titles, the Ring of Honor titles, and then we got the actual Trios Championships? Why? Is there a reason for this?
I hope they don't have to go through the airport with all those titles.
They probably do.
That'd be a pain in the ass.
Bullet Club Gold maybe defending against Death Triangle. This all kind of depends on the status of Rey Fenix. He was pulled from active in-ring competition after coming back a couple of weeks ago on Collision. He was pulled from the House of Glory show. He was supposed to wrestle his brother Penta in the main event for our Cinco de Mayo show. That did not happen. Penta wrestled Laredo Kid instead of the main event. We don't know what's going on with Phoenix, so if I was Tony Khan, I would put Jay White on the show, being that he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I put him against another guy who a lot of people consider one of the best wrestlers in the world, Pac. So you want pro wrestling, it's where the best wrestle. There you go, man. It's a fucking shoo-in. Pac versus Jay White. Give it to me.
There you go. One-on-one. I mean, honestly, I would prefer that match, even if Phoenix is healthy. I'd rather they do Jay White and Pac. Give Pac the win. And then you can set up a trios title match.
Perfect. Boom. Love it.
There you go.
TNT Championship. Adam Copeland will defend against Malachi Black in a barbed wire steel cage match. This is probably one of the things I'm looking forward to most here. I think Adam Copeland thrives in this type of environment. I think he thrives.
Hold on. I got to stop you. I'm surprised. You buried the lead here.
What happened?
You buried the lead. You're going into Adam Copeland. We are getting a Malachi Black singles match for a title, no less, on a pay-per-view. When was the last time this happened?
Never.
And how long has he been in this company for? 3 years?
3 years.
4 years?
3 years.
Okay. That to me is like the biggest revelation of all. Like, holy shit, this is actually really happening. So that's number one. But go ahead.
Yes, that is a great point. We should be very lucky that Malachi is healthy, number one, and he is getting a singles match. Somebody woke Tony Khan up from a fucking coma from not booking this match or booking a Malachi match, period, singles match. But I feel like Copeland thrives in these environments, and I feel like Copeland thrives when he genuinely wants to work with somebody. And like everybody has been telling me, like I don't fucking know, Brian probably requested the match with Satnam Singh on Wednesday. No shit, geeks. I get it. Malachi was probably requested by Copeland. And I love when Copeland physically wants to work with somebody because you get to see how good he really is. He's one of the best storytellers in the business. But as far as the barbed wire steel cage match, I'm assuming we will see blood. I mean, it's a common thing on AEW television, more common on pay-per-views. I feel like Jason will see something along the lines of what we saw with Paige and Swerve in that Texas death match last year. Maybe not as vile with one person drinking the other's blood, but I think we will see a lot of color here. But the question is, do we see a new champion? Now, if I had the pen, I'd put the title on Malachi, but I know you have talked about it, and I know Jesse and I mentioned it on Wednesday. Jack Perry, from a lot of different podcasts, including us two, potentially could be the guy or a guy to take the championship off of Adam Copeland, bring the TNT championship to the Elite, where they're the tag team champions. Okada is the Continental champion, and Jack Perry has the TNT championship. That would be them basically taking over AEW. We aren't there yet. We obviously have to get through this match and see what happens, but Malachi winning a singles championship, man, I think that would make a lot of people happy.
It would be long overdue, and I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it. I don't think it's going to happen, though. And I got to give a shout out here to Adam Copeland because he has been very consistent on TV now for a while. He's been putting the work in.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about fighting champions. I mean, he's been defending that title a lot. He's been doing the Cope Open. We've seen him in there with Penta. We've seen him in there with Kyle O'Reilly. We've seen him in there with a lot of different people. And he's already beaten Buddy. He's already beaten Brody. So Malachi is the next logical step. They've been telling a story with them. You know, he's been trying to pull the old Adam Copeland out and tap into the dark side that he knew was still buried within. And so that's why Copeland issued the challenge to a barbed wire cage match. but he's been putting the work in. And I'm sure that here, these guys are going to go out there and kill it. It doesn't feel like a title change to me. I still think Copeland is going to hold on to that title. And I do think that there's a very good possibility that the person who takes that title from him is going to be Jack Perry. And Jack Perry is going to bring that title into the Elite, where they already have the tag team titles. And they already have the Continental title. He's the only one unaccounted for. He's not beating Swerve and winning the world title. The TNT title would make sense. Plus, he is one of the younger guys on the roster. He's one of the pillars, so-called pillars of the company. If you were going to put that title on somebody, Perry would make more sense.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. I feel Copeland winning is probably the way that they're going to go. Though I feel Malachi, like you said, it's long overdue. But, getting back to that point, I don't want to speak for him, and I don't want to make assumptions, but if Malachi's got a deal coming up in the next year or so, I don't really see him coming back to AEW to begin with. So I feel like as soon as his contract is up, he's gone, and he's going back to WWE. I feel like that is what he really wanted anyway when Triple H came back to take the reins over in WWE. Not that that's going to weigh on a decision here creatively, but I just feel Tony Khan's going to go with who he trusts most here, and I think that's Adam Copeland, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like the Ricky Starks thing. I feel like when his deal is up, I think he's as good as gone.
Yeah. So I'm genuinely curious as well how this barbed wire steel cage match is going to work. Is the barbed wire going to be outside the cage? Is it going to be wrapped inside the cage? Is it going to be a weapon strewn about the ring? I don't really know, but violence will ensue for sure.
Well, I mean, they did one in, it was a No Way Out pay-per-view. I want to say maybe it was, I don't know, was it 05, 07? Something like that with JBL and Big Show. I vaguely remember. I think it was a barbed wire cage match. And I think they just wrapped some barbed wire around the top of the cage. But that's how they did it. I'm sure here it'll be a lot more extreme and bloodier than that was. So they may wrap it around the entirety of the fence. Are they going to take the ring ropes down and put barbed wire up? I don't know. They haven't said. My guess is they just wrap it around the cage itself. Maybe the middle, the top. There will be blood, I'm sure. But yeah, Copeland's going to walk out.
Will this keep all the outside interference out? Because we know how steel cage matches work. It never works.
Well, I mean, you would think if there's barbed wire wrapped around the entirety of the cage, I think they may attempt to interfere. But then again, the lights go out, the lights come back on. They may just be in the ring. Maybe they come up from under the ring. I'm going to say they attempt to get in, and they are unsuccessful.
We will go with this next because it's not going to be the main event. And sadly, it's not. Swerve Strickland, the AEW World Champion, will not be main eventing this show. He will defend that title against Christian Cage in what I thought has been solid so far. Is it really jump off the page? Oh, my God, let me buy a ticket to Double or Nothing main event? No, it's not. Is it something that is good enough for this show, seeing everything else that's happening on the show? Sure. Is it something that I feel like they could have done a lot better for Swerve as far as his first defense of the World Championship? Yeah, I feel like it could be a lot better. I don't know how you're feeling about this, Jason. Though I love the callbacks, though I love the continuity of the history between Swerve and Christian Cage. No, it's not long-term booking. It's just them making a callback to previous situations that happened between these two. It's not something that they had planned for over a long stretch of time with an ultimate payoff. But Swerve and Christian, I love the callbacks and the continuity. I love that they weaved Nick Wayne into this, and Christian took a problem with that, which obviously is a focus here in this match. And then obviously with the Elite running the company, they handpicked Christian. Very political move. Swerve has mentioned something that, or has mentioned a couple of times that it was a bitch move that the Elite attacked Tony Khan. So, obviously the Elite's going to go and kind of fuck Swerve's world up and bring back one of his arch nemesis here in Christian Cage. I'm excited for the match because I know it's going to be a great match, and there's going to be a lot of heat. And Swerve is a great storyteller. Christian is unbelievable. I think he's been probably on the best run of his life in AEW. But I have to ask you, as far as everything that is good coming out of this match, Do you feel it's a downgrade for the AEW World Championship and Swerve to start off his run and not have him main event the show and him being overshadowed by Anarchy in the Arena?
Yeah. No, it is. And when you, especially someone in his position, it's even more important, I think. Perception is everything. He's never been a world champion before, at least not in a major promotion. This is his first time being given the ball to run with, right? He just beat Samoa Joe to win the belt a month ago. First pay-per-view out of the gate, and we don't know for sure, but I think both of us agree that this is not going to close the show. You know, I'd be surprised if they close the show with this match. So it's important, I think, to give him a big win here. Coming out of the show, I think they need to do a better job as far as positioning him in a way where he doesn't feel secondary and he doesn't feel less than. I understand the Elite is the big story right now, and so they're going to get, a lot of television time, and they're kind of banking everything on this story right now in a lot of ways. Swerve, though, needs to be weaved into that story as soon as possible. They've already dropped little hints of it. He said, it's a bitch move what you did to Tony Khan. And then the Bucks turn around and they make Christian the number one contender, even though he did nothing to earn this title shot. Last time we saw him, he lost the TNT title to Copeland. But it's part of the story, and they are trying to fuck over Swerve. So that part of it makes sense. I think they're going to go out there and kill it. I think I agree with you. Christian is doing the best work of his career. I love Christian and the whole patriarchy act. And of course, Mother Wayne, what's not to love? So, the whole thing has been great, but he is in a secondary role on this show. It's all about Anarchy in the Arena. It's all about the Elite. They closed the show on Wednesday with what? Darby's return, right?
Yep.
Didn't close with Swerve. Swerve has been laid out now 3 straight weeks on TV. The story they're doing is that Christian is trying to take things away from him. He took his braid, and he took his blood, and the Mogul Embassy turned on him. Now this week, I think he's wrestling Nick Wayne. And so we'll see what they if they lay him out for a 4th week in a row. But he's going to win. Does anybody actually think Christian's going to win the title? I don't think so. But coming out of this show, it's going to be very important. Because again, perception is everything. One thing they've done that I think is good, and they've done this a couple of times now, where in the first hour of the show, they have a countdown clock in the corner of the screen, and they're counting down to Swerve's segment. Whether it's a match or a contract signing. Specifically, it's a Swerve Strickland segment. Like, hey, at the top of the hour, the champion is coming up. That's good. And that's the sort of thing they should be doing more because it makes it feel like a big deal. Remember they had the Cody countdown?
Yeah.
They did that gimmick for a while. It's the same thing.
But you don't feel like that's a little forced now after all the complaints that we're seeing on social media about how they mishandled Swerve in the first 3-4 weeks? You don't feel that countdown timer and them pushing that Swerve narrative? Oh, here's our world champion coming up in the next hour. You don't feel that's a little forced?
Yeah, but who cares if it's forced? It's the sort of thing they should be doing. If you think it's a reaction to the people online who are complaining about it, it probably is. But so what? That's what they need to be doing. I'm glad they're doing it. Now, it's one thing to be reactionary and to say, okay, we'll throw a countdown clock up on the screen. That's what I mean. When this pay-per-view is over, it's not going to be enough to just say, hey, at the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to have Swerve. Coming out of the show, you have to position him on the show in a way where he is the guy. And if that means weaving him into the Elite stuff, and now he's going to be feuding with Jack Perry and the Bucks and Okada and all them, great. If you think about it, Anarchy in the Arena, he's another one where you would think Swerve would be a part of that and defending the honor of the company. Now, I know why he's not. He's got to defend his title. But he's got to be more central, I think, to that story coming out of this, or else you're going to end up with another pay-per-view and more of them in the future, where instead of closing the show, he's second from the top. We've seen title runs in the past like that, like in other companies. Jericho had a run many years ago like that. He was the champion, but was he really the top guy? Not really. And we've seen other people book like that. I don't want to see Swerve book like that. He needs all the help he can get because he's never been in this spot before. And you want people to look at him and go, okay, this guy feels like a world champion. He's not there yet. And if they do more of what they're doing on this show, my fear is that he may never get there. So they got to hopefully fix that coming out of this pay-per-view. Right now, there's nothing they can do. This is not the main event on the show.
So where does Swerve go from here? If he's not feuding with the Elite coming out of this show, I mean, I see some people in the chat mentioning Jack Perry potentially going up against Swerve. I don't really find any interest in that. Like you mentioned before, I'd rather see Jack Perry go after the TNT Championship. But if he doesn't do the Elite stuff, where does he go? And my second question is, if he is feuding with the Elite, the only person that would really make sense in the Elite is Okada, no?
Well, I mean, right now, I mean, he can go after the Bucks individually, but yeah, it would be Jack Perry or Okada, unless they add another name. But we were talking about Forbidden Doors, so again, it could be him and Moxley. We don't know. We don't know what direction they're going to branch off in, because Forbidden Door, everything goes out the window. You know, because now you're bringing in another promotion or two promotions. They may put him in there with somebody from fucking, CMLL. I don't know. I hope not. I mean, that doesn't interest me at all. So Forbidden Door is the wild card here. I don't know who they're going to pick for him to get in the ring with, if it'll be Moxley or if it'll be Perry. I don't know. I don't know who that person is going to be. I do look ahead to Wembley, and I still feel that Swerve and Ospreay should be the match, with Ospreay getting the title, which doesn't mean that Swerve can't win the belt back. I also just don't think that every champion needs to be champion for a year, 2 years. You know, we've had a few people that have had longer title runs. It just feels to me like Ospreay's time is sooner than later. But that's also why it's so important to handle Swerve carefully, I think, in the meantime, if he's not going to be, long term, if this first run is not going to be that long.
Yep.
You gotta do right by him now, or else, he may not be able to recover from that.
It's funny you said that, because I seen a clip floating around on social media today from Brian Alvarez. I think Brian Alvarez has a very good point of view when he's talking about the weekly shows. I'm a big fan of his personally. He mentioned something, and I found this to be very interesting, and he brought up Swerve and a lot of people that have been there for a little bit. He said, look at the top people now, like Swerve, and he mentioned a couple others. Over the course of 5 years, nobody feels any more important than when they first started out. Do you feel that way in regards to how you look at Swerve right now? Because you just mentioned that if we go to Wembley and we get Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland for the World Championship, and Ospreay wins that World Championship, we're going to look back at the Swerve title run and we're going to be like, what did this accomplish for him? He didn't make the championship any more prestigious. The championship didn't make him any more prestigious. He wasn't elevated. He remained the same, almost as if he never won the championship to begin with. Do you feel that same way about Swerve?
I think it's hard to say, because he's only been champion for not even a full month. So I think the verdict is still out. I haven't been overly impressed with how they've used him so far, but this is his first defense on pay-per-view. So we have to get past, I think, this show first and see what they do next month and then this summer with him. I disagree in this way. You mentioned that, does anybody in 5 years feel bigger now than they did at the beginning? Of course, yes. MJF is like the name that jumps out at me. I mean, come on. Anybody saying otherwise is just fooling themselves. I would say Darby also would fall into that category. Darby, I didn't know much about Darby at the beginning, and having seen him now for 5 years, it's amazing he's still here after 5 years. It's amazing that he's still mobile after 5 years, although we'll see what happens this weekend. So I disagree with that. There are a few people who I think feel bigger and more important than they did at the beginning. But again, look, if he loses to Ospreay, it doesn't mean that it's the end for him. I don't look at it as a total waste. If he has 2 or 3 more months of great challenges that they really, again, make that feel like the focal point of the show, and he goes in there, maybe Hangman comes back sooner than later.
Yep.
Because you got to think that Hangman is going to make him his target, given that he was so obsessed with this guy. Why wouldn't he go after him as soon as he comes back? We can get that one more Swerve Hangman match next month or in July. And then we get into the Wembley stuff. I don't know what his status is. I don't know where Hangman is. Maybe he's the missing piece that we're trying to figure out here. It's hard for me to say one way or the other how this is going to end up. Like, how are we going to look back on Swerve in 5 months if he's no longer champion? Is this going to feel like, oh, this was a fucking failure, this was a waste of time? Or are we going to look back and say, okay, he did elevate himself, to a level higher than he was at. And now he's going to have to chase after the title again. Does he go heel again? And does he go back and forth with Ospreay? Do they trade the belt back and forth? I don't know. I mean, there's any number of ways it could go. But I think it's way too early to render a verdict one way or the other. I mean, again, the guy hasn't even defended the title on pay-per-view yet. So it's too early to say for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are blinded that he's not the focus, the primary focus of the show, like Cody is on WWE. But listen, AEW needed something to really jolt the excitement for what they're doing over there, and they feel like this elite storyline is it. I don't feel any excitement towards it. In fact, I'm kind of bored of it after a couple of weeks, and I don't really see the long-term effects of it, honestly. I'm very down on it, but that brings us to Anarchy in the Arena. This will be the main event of Sunday's show. And we have Kazuchika Okada, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry against Bryan Danielson, FTR, and now Darby Allin filling in for Eddie Kingston, who is very much injured and will be out the rest of the year. Apparently, he not only fractured his tibula, he torn his meniscus and torn his ACL. So he is finished for the rest of the year. Thoughts and prayers to Eddie Kingston. Just another name on a very long list of injuries that AEW certainly does not want to have happen. But in walks Darby Allin, Jason. And this guy got...
He limps in. He limps in. You got to say it right. He limps in.
He broke his foot in a match against Jay White. This was a couple weeks after the Sting tag team match at Revolution. He then was not climbing Mount Everest after venturing off to climb that. The gods told him, no, not this year. You're not going to die this year, thanks to the broken foot. He breaks his nose. He gets hit by a New York City bus, attends a Broadway play that same evening with a friend of his. And now he is obviously banged up. I'm sure not only the broken nose and the broken foot are ailing him. I'm sure he is one banged up individual. He is returning after a few weeks off, or I guess a couple months off. And now he is in Anarchy in the Arena. So...
Yeah. I got to say something here.
I mean...
So, it's one thing for him to come back and still not be at 100%. I don't know how he's cleared if he's out there after the camera stopped rolling. For those who don't know, when Dynamite was over last week, he got on the house mic and he admitted that he still walks with a limp. Okay, which means, I assume that means that his leg, his foot is not fully healed yet. And you can see he was limping. Okay, so he can't even walk straight. He has a nose brace on because he broke his nose. And people do wrestle with broken noses, but that's just another injury on top of that. And then he also pointed out that while he was hiding out underneath the ring, one of the support beams hit him in the head when Dax Harwood gave Okada a superplex during the main event. And he was on his way to the hospital, implying that maybe he's concussed. I mean, he sounded like he was out of it as he was talking. And then he told everybody, but we got some great action yet to come, so don't go nowhere. And then Dax gets on the mic and says, well, actually, no, the show's over. So ignore what he just said. So this guy's in fucking La La Land. He may be concussed for all we know. I guess we'll find out tomorrow if he's even in the match. So this guy has just one problem after another. And my question is this. You know, we heard Tony Khan at one of the media scrums many months ago. And he says there is no safer company than AEW. How is that possible when you have Darby Allin limping along in the ring the way he was, the fucking brace on, and he's in Anarchy in the Arena in his first match back? Am I the only one? I mean, this has disaster written all over. I know it's very Darby-esque. Like, it's like, oh, of course, it's Darby Allin. You expect it. How is this fucking guy even cleared to be in this match is what I want to know.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster, honestly.
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
You know, I feel that same way about Bryan. You know, Bryan apparently, he was interviewed. He said that he's got shooting pains up and down his arm. He's going to need neck surgery, have a compressed nerve root C6, C7, and C7T1.
Yeah, and by the way,
I don't know if that's real or not. I don't know if that's playing up to the fucking angle with Will Ospreay at Dynasty. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, that I was gonna say that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, it's Bryan, so you never know, but I read that as feeding into what we saw at Dynasty, and he was, you know, shaking and everything. And I think that they're telling a story with him in that way as they build to Wembley, you know, and that. Although he has said Wrestle Dream, he wants that to be his last match as a full-time wrestler, because I guess it's in, I think they're in Tacoma. I think they're at the Tacoma Dome this year. So yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming that is being played up for storyline purposes.
Why is he there? Why is he here anyway?
Well, he probably wanted to be. We know he has a lot of leeway in that company. This is also, by the way, his third straight one. So he's been in every single Anarchy in the Arena match so far. And if you remember, he got hurt. I think he got concussed in that first one. That's why he missed the first Forbidden Door. He was supposed to wrestle Zack Sabre Jr. He got pulled because he wasn't cleared. It was this fucking match where he got hurt. Now, I know he's done some hardcore matches before, but like, you don't look at Bryan Danielson and think, okay, this guy is Mr. Anarchy in the Arena. That seems like the kind of match that fits Eddie Kingston. It fits Jon Moxley, people like that. Does he need to be in the match? No, but he probably wanted to be. And also, I think they look at him, he's kind of like Mr. AEW. So he's here to defend the honor of the company. But it's not like he's had any kind of interaction with the Young Bucks on TV.
No, zero.
No, none. So does he need to be in the match? No, he doesn't. And is he in there just because he wants to be? Is he in there because Tony Khan felt like, well, we have a lot of other people who are hurt? You know, MJF and other people, Hangman. Because you could have made the argument for Hangman to be part of this, right? He got suspended by the Elite. Maybe they want to bring him back as a heel to wrestle Swerve, and that's why. But he would have made sense for this match. And for whatever reason, he's not a part of it. So maybe there were reasons for it, but yes, storyline-wise, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
So that's been my main problem with this. And apparently Bryan is wrestling Satnam Singh on Wednesday, and according to the story coming out of Collision is that the Young Bucks paid Satnam Singh and Jarrett's group, Sanjay Dutt, apparently, to put a bounty on Bryan Danielson, and they hired the biggest guy that they got. Whether you think that makes sense or not, God bless you. I mean, Bryan probably wanted this match for how fucking sick he is. Listen, you know, am I going to watch? Sure. Am I going to be interested to see what Bryan does in there against a lumbering fool like Satnam Singh? Sure. Is there one guy on that roster that could bring Satnam Singh to a great match? Yes, his name is Bryan Danielson. You know, we saw the same thing with Seth Rollins and Omos. Everybody critically shit on the match being made because it didn't make any sense and was a Vince wet dream. But that was probably Omos's best match ever. I don't think he's had anything better since then. So well, I could see this being the same case here.
Yeah, him and Brock it was short, but him and Brock had a pretty decent match at WrestleMania last year. So, you know, when he's in there with the right person, and if they keep it short enough, he could have a good match. Satnam Singh, we just haven't seen enough of him to know in a singles match against an actual wrestler how well he will do. He doesn't have to do much.
It may not even be a match.
Oh, there may not be. It could be an angle more than a match. I'm not expecting this to go fucking 15 minutes. I mean, God forbid. You know, this goes, can you imagine? I don't want to see that. But yeah, so we don't know how long it's even going to go. Bryan is sick enough. He may have requested it. I think I'm morbidly curious how this match is going to go. So in a weird, morbid kind of way, I am looking forward to it. If you look at the card they put together for Dynamite tomorrow night, it's a pretty loaded lineup. If you're looking for great wrestling, you'll have that elsewhere on the card. I don't really have an issue with them doing kind of I mean, it's kind of like a freak match that you don't normally see on TV. As long as they keep it short, if they're going to have an actual match, I trust in Bryan. There's a reason why he's looked at as one of the greatest of all time, bell to bell. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to put together a match. So I'm sure it will be better than I am expecting it to be. But at least there's a story to explain it, which is the bounty. And it was Sanjay Dutt, like you said, who took up the Elite on their offer. They're trying to soften this guy up, heading into Anarchy in the Arena. So it does make sense in that respect. As long as they keep it brief, I think it'll be fine.
Who wins this match? Is it going to be Team AEW? Is it going to be the Elite? Where do they go coming out of this match? Because one of my reservations on this match was that Anarchy in the Arena is typically looked at as a match that blows off feuds. This is the start of the Elite storyline, and they're starting off with a match that is typically used to blow off feuds. Where do they go from here? Or are they just going to go balls to the wall and give us the most comical, outlandish shit in hopes that something sticks with this and it gets over? and we take this to blood and guts, like we mentioned last week. Where do you see this going, and who walks out the victor here?
Well, it's got to be the Elite. You're not going to beat the Elite this early into this run. I mean, I think that would be nuts. You know, you got the tag team champions in there. The Continental Champion is in there as well. Jack Perry, it seems like they're probably going to push him, whether it's the TNT title or a match with Swerve. You don't beat the Elite. If you're committed to this angle, which, by the way, is not resonating so far, and all you got to do is look at the numbers, because if this was hitting in the way that they wanted it to hit, then the numbers would be going up, and the numbers are going down. Okay, we know that. It's right there in front of our faces. This is not connecting. It's not registering in a way that Tony Khan, I'm sure, was hoping that it would when he had the Elite dump him on top of his head. There were people that night when they shot that angle at Daly's place who were actually making NWO comparisons. Like, this is their NWO. Oh, sure. My God. It's like, and I'm like, okay, these people, maybe they're dropping acid. I don't know what it is. Hey, you know, whatever they're doing, whatever they're smoking, it must be some really good shit. But it didn't take long for the comparisons to start. So hopefully now people have come back down to earth and realized that, you shouldn't mention those three initials in the same sentence with this angle. You can make certain comparisons to it in that the NWO stuff, it basically took over the entire product, and it just dominated the show every single week. And this isn't dominating the entire show, but everything is built around this angle. They need this to work. Okay? I think they were banking on this to carry them throughout at least the rest of the summer. And unfortunately for them, Kenny Omega is not going to be available for a while. You listed off all the injuries, right? That doesn't help. But to beat them now, I think, would be idiotic unless they're going to abandon the entire angle. Why are you going to beat the Elite? Right?
It doesn't make any sense, yeah.
FTR, let's say, getting the win for their team. Who cares? Bryan Danielson getting the win for his team. Does he really need to get the win for his team? Darby getting the win. Let's say Darby wins it for Team AEW. Then what? I mean, does he challenge Okada for the Continental title? Is that the idea? Does he wrestle Jack Perry? But you've already beaten the Elite. I don't see the point in doing that if this angle is going to continue on. You beat the Bucks, right? They lost to Sting and Darby at Revolution, so they already lost that big match. But now you're building everything around this. So you keep them strong. They win. What they do on Dynamite next week, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what that next step is. I don't know who's available health-wise and who's not. And Forbidden Door is the wild card. You know, are they going to do something with New Japan talent and just focus on that and everything else takes a back seat?
Probably.
I honestly don't know. I don't know what they do.
It just feels like it's fly-by-night, fucking fire to their fucking underwear type booking, honestly. It just doesn't resonate with them having a plan. It doesn't feel like they have a direction or a plan. That's just the way that I feel. I agree with you. I think the Elite needs to win this. Coming out of this, I can't say I'm going to be any more interested than I am currently right now. And I want to make a joke on FTR. It just feels like you mentioned FTR winning this. What the fuck's it going to do for them? I just feel like, honestly, lately, the last couple of years, they were only hired to lose to the Young Bucks. It's like, this is the greatest tag team legitimately probably ever. And they have just fallen off the fucking face of the earth here in AEW. It's like they can't catch a break. It's like, I love those guys. And there's nothing there with them. There's no more excitement from them. I don't know.
Well, they lost their friend. You know, they were hanging around with Punk, and then Punk left, and it just hasn't been the same since.
That's the reason why they're a bunch of losers now.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Anyway, Jason and I will be live after Double or Nothing on Sunday nights. We will have our streams after the show is over. It's going to be one hell of a night, and hopefully we can salvage whatever is left of Memorial Day on Monday. Thanks, TK. We love you, man. Yeah. Moving on with what were we going to say?
Wake up at 1 o'clock that day.
Yeah, really.
If I'm lucky to get enough sleep after that. But, yeah.
We got one more story, guys, and then we'll get into your super chats. I want to talk about this story because I didn't really get a chance to talk about this yet. Cody and this whole Brian Gewirtz interview that he had, and he throws some shade at Cody Rhodes. He was interviewed, was Brian Gewirtz, on the Masked Man show. And Gewirtz apparently compared the idea and reality of the Cody segment, the now infamous segment, which we never got an explanation as to why Cody did what he did. And The Rock could have given us one in that 21-minute promo we cut for social media a few weeks after, but it's not going to be the answer I'm looking for, honestly. Compare these...
And we never will.
No. They want it to be exactly the way it is. This segment now, a now infamous segment, where he gave up his WrestleMania main event, which occurred on an episode of SmackDown in Alabama. He compared this to the 1960 presidential debate between then Vice President Richard Nixon and then Senator John F. Kennedy. If you read the transcript, you're like, Nixon kicked Kennedy's ass. But if you watch it, it's like, oh, Nixon was a sweaty, terrible mess. Gewirtz then goes on to say the initial idea was a gung-ho promo where Rhodes tells Rock to defeat Roman Reigns and end his title reign. By the way, Rhodes delivered the promo completely changed the tone. But the way Rhodes delivered the promo completely changed the tone, says Gewirtz. He looked like someone shot his dog in the face in the parking lot. That I don't think helped matters. I don't blame Cody for that. He's real. He's one of the realest people I've ever met. Rhodes' grim expression and body language clued fans in on that. He thought this was a complete fucking shit show, and he had it written all over his face, which left Gewirtz and Johnson with only two choices. We could push forward like WWE has often done, said Gewirtz, or we could do something pretty incredible. Rhodes obviously went on to then rescind his offer, or the title match to The Rock. He actually ended up challenging Roman Reigns at the press conference in Las Vegas, and then went on to get the match booked for WrestleMania. Then we got Final Boss Rock, and so on and so forth. Seth Rollins was the fourth wheel, and we got what we got at WrestleMania. I'll stop with this because Cody had some comments about the whole situation as well. So, Gewirtz, Jason, wanted Cody to go out there and basically be all smiles and be happy that he won the Royal Rumble and then gave up the title shot to Rock to go wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 for the WWE Championship, with the rumor, by the way, of Rock winning and then vacating the championship, because that would have been a fucking great idea.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
So let me get this straight, Brian Gewirtz. Cody Rhodes, and I've been all over this. I mean, I was fucking heated to a point where fans were basically telling me, oh, man, JD's a flip-flopper, back and forth. No, I'm just flip-flopping on fucking terrible creative. So Cody Rhodes wins the Royal Rumble in 2023. He goes on to feud with Roman Reigns, which was, depending on how you look at it, you know, the story was there, but it wasn't really full-fledged his story yet. Gets the match, great match. Ending was fucked. He sits there with his rubber chicken, dejected. And then the following night on Monday Night Raw, he gets blasted by Brock Lesnar in a match that happened over a stretch of 3 pay-per-views for 4 months, and we never got an explanation as to why that feud even happened. So then after that, he conquers the Beast. He goes on to feuds with Dominic Mysterio. He feuds with Dominic in Judgment Day. This leads to War Games. And he then wins the Royal Rumble in 2024. And then he goes on to WrestleMania and wins the WWE Championship from Roman Reigns. But first, he has to give it up to The Rock. He rescinds that offer. He says, no, I'm going to challenge Roman Reigns. And then he goes on to get his match and wins in one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. So you mean to tell me that Cody, after everything that he's been through, Jason, that I documented here, you wanted this man to have a fucking smile on his face after everything that Vince put him through for the whole year, and then he wins the Royal Rumble, and then the night of, he finds out that Rock is taking his title match. Oh, man, Brian Gewirtz is a fucking half-witted idiot if he thinks Cody was going to go out there and smile after everything he's been through.
Yeah, but you missed the best quote, though, because I think the exact quote was, in some form, Cody was supposed to go out there and basically be like, yeah, fucking A, go get him, Rock, you know, and have a big smile on his face, and he would be on cloud 9. So think about everything that you just said, right? From the Royal Rumble the previous year, WrestleMania gets fucked, the Brock stuff, comes back, wins the Rumble back-to-back. Nobody has done that in 26 years, right? This big accomplishment.
Only 4 people have done that in the history, right? 4?
Hogan, right? Michaels, I think Austin was the other one, and there's Cody. And so can you imagine Hogan or Michaels or Austin coming out on television a week later after winning their second consecutive Royal Rumble, and then somebody else from the past shows up and they willingly step aside with a smile on their face and they say, oh, fucking A, yeah, go get him. And I said the other day, I said it's like Brett at WrestleMania 9 when Hogan came out. He was like, go get him, Hulk.
Awful.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Cloud 9 were the words that Gewirtz used in that interview. Well, you know, he should have been on Cloud 9. Cloud 9. Cody should have been on Cloud 9 to willingly give up his title match at WrestleMania for The Rock to go after Roman Reigns.
Please tell me Brian Gewirtz is working Rock's next appearance on WWE television with that.
No, but see,
comment.
it doesn't make any sense. I'm going to tell you why he's not, okay? And if he or anybody else says that he is, it's fucking stupid. Because, and I know they blur the lines now of kayfabe and not kayfabe and all that, but here's Brian Gewirtz giving an interview, pulling the curtain back and talking about how, well, here's what Cody was supposed to do. Cody was supposed to go out there, and if he just would have sold it a different way, if he would have acted a different way, now you're going to turn around and say, well, this was all, you know, we were just, you know, working people by saying this, that this is stupid. This is like Vince Russo level shit if that's what this is. I don't think so. I think they genuinely thought that had Cody sold this in a different way and had a smile on his face, that because Cody was so well liked, the people would buy into it and they would go along with it and say, well, if Cody is okay with it, then I'm okay with it. Go get him, Rock. Breathtakingly delusional is what these people are if they honestly believe that. And we know that they were going this way and ended up going a different way. So it's not like, well, this was the plan all along. We've already established this was not the plan and they had to go in a different direction. But that just goes to show you the level of just delusion that was involved here. That this is how they viewed it. And I love how he's like, oh, I'm not blaming Cody. Cody's a great guy. He's real. Not blaming Cody. And then the remainder of the quote goes on to blame Cody. But that's what it is.
I mean, my question is, to follow up everything you said, did nobody realize this while this was being pitched? That this is a fucking terrible idea? Did nobody stand up and say, hey guys, I don't think this is a good idea because it really just contradicts the winner of the Royal Rumble here, giving up his fucking shot. Shouldn't he have the opportunity that he wants?
I'm sure there were people, maybe Triple H was one of them. I'm sure there were people who were smart enough to be in the room who look at this and go, wait a minute, this doesn't make any fucking sense. But it's The Rock. Right? And at the end of the day, he's going to get what he wants. If you're the one person in the room and you're looking at this going, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Are you going to raise your hand and say, hey, this is stupid? This doesn't make any sense. If it's The Rock, let's say, in Gewirtz and these people pitching the idea, you may not want to raise your hand and say, you know what? I don't think that's such a good idea. And Cody, to his credit, I love it because Cody went out there. I love that quote too, because he really did. He looked like somebody shot his dog. Somebody just gave him the bad news before he walked out there.
I mean, everybody's seen it. Everybody's seen it live.
Of course. But Cody looked like a fucking geek, right? Now imagine if he would have gone out there and he would have smiled, and if he would have like danced a jig, like, yeah, Rock, let's do it. Yeah, you know, the Rockettes do that dance with the legs back and forth. Like, picture Cody out there doing that. How much of a bigger geek he would have looked like? It would have been even worse if he would have reacted the way the Gewirtz said he was supposed to react. But see, the thing I love about it is Cody's smart, because you can't tell me that Cody didn't know what he was doing when he reacted that way, okay? I don't even think it's like he's got a bad poker face. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. And boy, did it backfire on them. And people talk about how Cody, he looks too much and sounds too much like a politician. You know, he's always in a suit and he always uses these big words. It's like he's giving a political speech. He should run for office one day. Yeah, he might run for office one day, but I think Cody is playing the political game right now very well. Because I think he knew exactly what he was doing when he reacted the way that he did, and good for him. And in the end, he got the match that he should have had to begin with. And everything worked out okay in the end. We got Final Boss Rock. Thank God it worked out the way that it did. But the fact that they're letting us know that this is how they were thinking at that time, they actually thought that this would work. They thought this was a good idea. It is just the absolute height of delusion. You know, there's a matter of like reading the room. They couldn't read the fucking building if this is what they honestly thought. Like, it just blew me away reading these quotes.
I think Gewirtz may be operating on fucking half of a brain cell, to be honest with you, because I don't know why he's talking about this now, because what we got was infinitely better than anything they came up with originally. And B, why is he talking about this now? Because this basically spawned Final Boss Rock. We got 2 main events instead of 1. We got an unbelievable ending tonight too. Like, I don't know, like, it just, everything that followed this shows how wrong they were. So what I'm bothered by is how these people will never admit that they're wrong. Like, just own up to it. We fucked up. We wrote something that was shitty, and it sucked. And I'm actually glad Cody went off the script, really, no pun intended, and fucking gave us the reaction that he gave. Because if I know anything personally, I wear my heart on my sleeve. People know when I'm fucking sad, when I'm happy, when I'm this, I'm that. I mean, I couldn't wait to get live to talk about it because it was written all over Cody's face. The fact that you're saying it was premeditated and he went out there knowing exactly what he was going to do and the reaction he was going to get, you truly think he knew everything that was going to happen as soon as he gave that reaction to the live audience? Not everything, I would assuming, but...
Well, look, I don't know exactly when he found out what. I mean, now we're seeing that, and I think Cody himself may have said that he found out the day of the Royal Rumble.
I got it here,
What the plan was, okay? So let's assume that that's the case, okay? So he knew the day of the Royal Rumble that this was going to happen. So he had at least a week to have this on his brain and to kind of ruminate about it and feel whatever way he was going to feel about it. And then it became real that day in Alabama. I guess it was Groundhog Day. When they did that segment, he went out there. And yes, I do think on some level, he knew how to play it. I think he genuinely was upset. And so you did see, I'm sure he was feeling very dejected about the whole thing because he was there for the entire year. He busted his ass. He went through the Brock stuff and War Games and everything else. And he knew that he had this great story. He had the fan support. The fans stuck with him. They didn't turn on him. They didn't get bored of him. And he's right there, right? He's on the verge. This is what he's worked his entire career for. And now it's like, oh, The Rock is back. And so, SummerSlam or maybe WrestleMania next year, it'll be your time. We're going to go with Rock instead. Of course it bothered him. How could it not? But if he had a job to go out there and sell it and smile, that he would have gone out there and sold it and smiled, but he didn't because he knew. And he wanted people to know that he knew. And I think it was smart. But the fact that they even admit it, like you said, why even talk about this? It just makes them look so stupid. Why even talk about this like, well, it was supposed to go this way. This was the actual plan. And then you hear about it, and it's like, these people were even fucking dumber than I thought.
I'm surprised they actually came up with the fucking plan that played out at WrestleMania. We've seeing how fucking stupid these people are. But like you said, I do have it here. Cody didn't find out about this until he won the Royal Rumble. There was some talk about the WrestleMania 40 documentary, which I'm incredibly intrigued by, which we haven't seen yet. It was supposed to come out on YouTube, and then they pulled it. They wanted to add more footage to it. Whatever that footage is, I don't know.
Well, I was surprised they even announced that it was coming out that quickly, because normally they do these WrestleMania. Remember they used to do the WWE 24 documentaries? Those, like, it would come out a year later.
Yeah.
So I was surprised they even announced it was coming out that quickly. So in a way, I'm not shocked that they pushed it back.
So he talked about that, and then Cody said that we might see when he found out about plans to do Rock versus Roman Reigns. Cody said this: one thing that might be revealed in the documentary and might put things in a different perspective for people is I find out about the possibility of Rock versus Roman Reigns the day of the Royal Rumble, and I had to leave that room head up and make sure no one knew what could possibly happen in probably one of the most difficult days I've ever had in the wrestling business. No shit. But also, how could you complain when you're winning the Royal Rumble? Clearly, you complain that this is fucked up. Honestly, that's what I would do. But when you're pointing at the sign and in front of over 20,000 people in Tampa, it was such a high and such a low at the same time. He says, I'll say this about the month leading up to WrestleMania 40. You try to create these ideal situations for yourself as an athlete. I just couldn't catch a break when it came to this ideal circumstance. I was just talking to Brandy about this morning. He was interviewed on Busted Open this week. But my bus, a few days before WrestleMania, becomes a giant fireball in the parking lot. Had to bring in a new bus for me. I'm sleeping in a bunk that was for a band. I was not going to be presented with the ideal circumstances. I'd given into that and conceded that before WrestleMania because I just had this feeling, even all the way back to the Royal Rumble. I had this feeling that it was going to all work out, end quote. So this motherfucker found out the day he was winning the Royal Rumble that they were going to go Rock and Roman at WrestleMania.
Well, he said he found out the possibility that it might happen. So maybe he was holding out hope that common sense would prevail. But again, think about that, right? He goes in there, wins the Royal Rumble. They got that shot of him pointing at Roman, who was up in one of the skyboxes. It doesn't make sense. If they already knew, okay, we're not doing this, but we're going to have Cody win anyway. I mean, look, my whole thing was, if this is the decision that you have made, you're going to put everything in The Rock's basket, okay? He's the biggest star in the world, so of course you want to go with The Rock. The Rock can't come in at the very end of the Royal Rumble, throw somebody out, and win the match.
Oh, he didn't want to work that night.
Evidently not. Apparently not. But at least that would have made sense. So from the moment they hatched this entire idea, it was fucked from the very beginning. And how these people involved, who were supposed to be smart, Gewirtz was the head writer there, I think, longer than any other single person in the history of the company. And reading ideas like this, I'm not surprised to see how he survived so long working under Vince McMahon with ideas like this. But you would think that these people would have enough common sense. Rock is not a stupid guy. Rock is a fan. I believe that Rock would have kept up with the product, and he would have known how over Cody was and how big of a babyface he was. And to think that they thought that this was actually a good idea and they would have no backlash from it, these people are out to lunch.
It's fucking sad that people are still like this hanging around the company when we need to just remove these people from any aspect of WWE. This made me cringe reading this, but we moved on. Everything that worked out, it was for the best. We got the best version of The Rock that we could possibly ever ask for. I can't wait till he comes back as the final boss. And
we got the music back.
Man, got the music. We got a match with Cody coming up. We got a whole Bloodline story that's going to carry us through another year and a half of television. So hopefully things work out and we don't get any more fucking miscues or misfires from Mr. Gewirtz here. But Cody did also mention, before we get to your super chats, about what Rock handed Cody on the Raw after WrestleMania. Because Bully Ray asked, or actually Mark Henry asked him, Bully Ray asked him something else in regards to how Rock's going to come back, which I got a quote from as well. Cody says, "It wasn't $1. It was certainly more expensive than that. I tried to make a positive overture, an olive branch to The Rock and $7 team because I have an immense respect for what they've done. They set the table so I can eat at it. He did not feel that was a positive overture and handed it back to me. That's the best I can give you, Bully. But I was pretty heart-stricken over the fact that it came back. But if anything, like Triple H told me, it's not fun and games for these guys. They're coming for you, and you either get ready or you don't." I'll stop there, and then I'll get into what Cody and Bully talked about as far as Rock coming back. Jason, I mentioned, it might have been a far-fetched, conspiracy theory, but Cody mentioned the bus being on fire the night of. I'm like, he handed him the fucking lighter to the bus that went up in flames. Now, that would be a great story. That would be out of the box thinking. That's something that Gewirtz should really fucking maybe, take a stab at, because that would be intriguing to me. But the second thing...
The Rock turns to arson to get his revenge on Cody.
It's out there. I get it.
That's a great idea.
But, the second thing I mentioned was the Rolex, because we know Cody gifted everybody in the match a Rolex. And the Rolex was probably given back to Cody. And then The Rock says, "Don't go break my heart again." That's the last thing that we heard The Rock say. So I'm assuming now with what he said, it's probably the Rolex.
It could be the Rolex. I mean, there were a lot of theories at the time. Some people thought it was maybe a piece of that, the Ulafala or whatever it is, the tribal necklace.
The necklace.
Because Roman lost, and maybe he took a piece of it off and handed it to Cody. Who knows? I mean, we didn't get to visually, see what it was. They can, when Rock comes back, literally make up any explanation they want, or they could just simply not explain it, and it's never mentioned again, right? Which wouldn't be totally shocking. So I've seen a few different theories. The Ulafala one, if I had to put any stock into any of these, I would put more stock into that than the lighter theory. Personally, I don't think Rock needs to go, committing felonies to get his revenge on Cody. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that'll even be brought up when Rock comes back, or if it'll be a forgotten thing. Again, we didn't get an explanation for the SmackDown segment we just got done talking about, so who knows? It may just be forgotten.
Probably not. Cody did say about Rock coming back, because Bully asked him if he thinks The Rock is coming back for him, and if his version of the story is Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, because Cody, I'm assuming, is a big Star Wars guy. Cody says, "If we're looking at Star Wars parallels, I feel like we're maybe past Jedi at this point." I have no idea what this means. I'm more of a Lord of the Rings guy, by the way. "Here's the struggle I have with a person like The Rock. I know it's underneath there. I know inside is the people's champion. I was the biggest Rock fan growing up. I know he's there. That's not what returned. We got the final boss. We got the cursing. We got an unbelievably gritty and formidable. If you look at just his size compared to most wrestlers today, in terms of his athletic ability and size, I just wish the relationship had been different, and I can't sit here hoping that forever. I can't sit here saying, man, I'd like to bring the real people's champion back. I really would, because I think that's what's underneath there. But perhaps that rock is too far gone. That's what he says. Regardless of whatever version of the rock we're getting, it's not going to be anything but the final boss, and I think he's coming back for the World Championship. So, you know, whatever that is, more of what we were given with Mr. Hollywood Final Boss, honestly.
Yeah, and I guess that means if they do the match at WrestleMania next year, then it's 2 years before we get the match with Rock and Roman. If it even happens.
Way too long.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, people thought it was going to happen years ago, and it didn't. He finally came back this year, and now he wants to work with Cody. You know, he's not getting any younger. Who knows if the Rock and Roman match is going to happen? I think Vegas would be the place for it.
Yep.
In a perfect world, Rock would be back for SummerSlam, and we'd be gearing up for Rock and Cody in a few months, but it's looking less likely by the day.
Guys, I want to thank you for a great discussion tonight. I know it is a Tuesday night, and there's a bunch of sports on tonight, but if you spent your time with us on this Tuesday night, Jason and I really appreciate it. We're going to get into your super chats in just a second. Please hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. Make sure you guys continue to hit that thumbs up. We need about 40 likes or so for 1,000 likes on tonight's live stream, so please go and do that. Make sure you guys follow Jason on YouTube. I linked his YouTube channel not only in the title, but also in the description. Go check him out on YouTube. He is live when I am live every single week. And make sure you guys go follow him on social media as well as Twitter is down below in the description. Let's get to these super chats and then call it a night here. Fire Panda with a $27.99 super chat. American males, American males, American males, American males, American males, American males, he says.
One of the greatest theme songs of all time.
Thank you.
The lyrics are a little tough to remember, though.
Thank you, Fire Panda. Appreciate it. He was the first one tonight for the supers. Appreciate him.
Shout out to Fire.
Michael Krause with the $2 super chat. Good Tuesday, JD and Jason, OTS family as well. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it, brother. Scott Woodford with a $4.99. I'm drinking vodka and raspberry flavored THC. I'm sleeping well tonight. Oh, boy.
Interesting combo there.
Take it easy, Scott.
Yeah, really.
Michelle with a $2 super chat. Cody, act overjoyed. Gewirtz is really an idiot. Yes, he is. Indigo with 40 months as a member. Thank you, Indigo. Hi, JD and Jason. Let the newbies know that I'm the king of your comment section. LOL jokes. I made it to 40 months. I have the utmost respect for both of you. Thank you, Indigo.
Thank you, brother.
Michelle with a 2. Who would you trade Jey Uso for on SmackDown? Well, Michelle, I mentioned this last night. With what we saw from Braun Breaker last night, maybe we get a match with Ricochet or Dragunov out of it, and we see more destruction from Braun, but AJ Styles, we'll find out what AJ is going to talk to Nick Aldis about. Maybe we're facilitating a trade for AJ Styles and Braun Breaker to switch brands. I don't know. Did you talk about that last night at all?
I did, and I actually pitched that very idea because AJ was very cryptic in that segment backstage last week, and I've been saying that, you know, he may need some fresh scenery. You move him over to Raw. Who goes over to SmackDown? Braun Breaker, since he said Adam Pearce can't control him. The only thing is, though, you know, he was already on SmackDown. And then he got drafted to Raw, and now you're going to move him back to SmackDown. That would be kind of dumb.
A little silly, but loving what they're doing with Braun Breaker, especially coming out of Raw last night. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Michael Evans with 23 months. Love the Steiner Brothers thumbnail. Bonfire needs to merch that. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. Vincent Moore with a $2 super chat. He says, I enjoy what y'all do. Wesley is back on NXT, and Rich Holland has joined Chase U. I think Wesley is fucking fantastic, but you couldn't get me to care about what's happening on NXT right now, man. Sorry. Scumdog 420 with a 2 months. I love the Solomonster being on TNT. Feels like when Captain America first teamed up with Iron Man.
Wow, there you go. See Lamont, if you're listening, that's the artwork we need right there.
There you go.
Captain America, right? You could be, what would you want to be?
I was always a fan of Gambit.
Gambit. All right, yeah, Gambit. Cable, maybe.
Yeah.
Cable.
Yeah.
Cable, right?
Have you played, I know you probably played the Street Fighter versus Capcom or Marvel versus Capcom?
I have.
Obviously, everybody played as Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, I played as Iron Man. I played as a bunch of different people, but I'm just going over the different, some of the other Marvel. Maybe you could be like a Silver Surfer guy.
No,
I used
thank
to like Silver Surfer.
No, thank you. No. No Silver
What's wrong
Surfer.
with him? Why not?
I don't know. He's got no character. What is he?
He rides around the galaxy. Like you could ride around in your dark horse around the galaxy. It's the same thing.
No, I'm more of an Iron Man guy. Iron Man and War Machine.
All right.
Captain Solo with a $5 super chat. JD and the Solomonster, the best bro ship since RK Bro. I'm enjoying this pairing much better than the previous one. A toast to the kings of the internet wrestling community. Thank you, Captain Solo. Speaking of Matt Riddle, Jason and I will be going Matt Riddle versus Mike Santana on Friday night.
That's right. The War Within. We're going to be in Queens. We're over at La Boom. And Riddle is challenging for the world title.
Theme Parks and Things with Johnny with a 19 months. Thank you, brother. I'm going to call an upset, and Lyra is going to win. But if I'm wrong, it's okay. Listen, I'm sure you're not the only person that thinks that way, but Queen Naya is going to happen. My guy, Guardian of Chaos, with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Guardian. Always good to see you, brother. JD, you and Solomonster are pure class in a glass. The straw that stirs the IWC drink. All the other co-hosts for TNT were solid, but you guys, for me, are like peanut butter and jelly. I'm honored to be a part of this family. Hashtag Mod Squad. Guardian, thank you, brother. That means a lot, man.
Thank you, man.
Captain Solo with a $5 super chat. Chad Gable should have been Kurt Angle's son instead of Jason Jordan. Another example of Vince being totally clueless. I think we both agree on that, yes.
I think everybody at the time was pretty much in agreement, of course, Vince would.
Now, those chants, I hope that they stick. Those "you suck" chants, I couldn't tell if they were piped in or not last night, but I hope if they're going to continue that and keep that up, that picks up, just like the Jey Uso Firefly gimmick. So,
yeah, I mean, it's weird because it doesn't fit his theme as good as it did Kurt's theme. So it kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't even expecting it. So I think we'll probably hear more of it. It's like the people that were singing Orton's theme in France at the beginning of the month. You're starting to see it more here. I think it'll spread.
Mason Legend with a $4.99. I want to see LA Knight turn heel and face Cody for the title. Yeah, not going to happen, Mason. David M with the $300 $99.99 consecutive. Thank you, brother. Appreciate your generosity every single time you're here. Dorian Moore with the $2 super chat. Maybe Sexy Red should go to AEW instead of NXT. I have no idea who that is. Was she on NXT? Was she on NXT tonight? I don't know, Dorian. You got two guys here that don't really keep up on NXT Weekly.
Unless he's talking about All Red Everything. Is she back?
God. Donnie Yasu with the $2 super chat. Great show, guys. Thank you, Donnie. Tone C with a 5. Either someone stole it or it got lost in the mail, but I'm going to order another Go Google It shirt. OTS for life. I'm sorry to hear that, bro. I mean, I've had mail getting lost too. I'm on this Pokemon card collecting kick, and I order from a website, and the last batch I ordered got lost in the fucking mail. So I know how that feels.
You better make sure your Megatron doesn't get lost in the mail.
I had to, man.
I saw that. Very okay. Hey, I watched the video because I wasn't even aware that they had made this, and there's like a 3-minute video showing. Like the different poses and stuff. It's amazing that you can control it from your phone and everything. And like, if you were a kid, I mean, you would die for a fucking thing like that.
Man, I grew up with that. I mean, how couldn't I fucking pull the trigger on that,
Yeah. But I do wonder though, like once it's out, because it's a pre-order, right? It's not actually out.
Yeah, it's not coming out till September, I believe.
I do wonder though, if you were to wait, I would imagine, everything comes down at some point. But it's a risk, if it sells out, you might not be able to get it. So,
yeah, they hype it up behind the limited edition and $300 off if you pre-order because it was originally $1,200.
it was $1,200 originally.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So I got a special pre-order price. So I'm like, all right, you got me. Now, does it come out of the box is the question. I don't know. I might have to.
Of course it has to. Come on. I would be doing that every day.
Don't be surprised if you see it on stream and I have Megatron blast Tony Khan for a shit booking on a random Wednesday.
Swing that mace around.
Yeah, really. Tone C, thank you, brother. Sam with a $5 super chat. When Cody was on the Busted Open radio show the other day, he hinted at the fact that he wants a manager. Who would you pick to be his manager? Arn Anderson? ? That's a good question, Sam. I saw that quoted, but I didn't put it in the notes because I didn't really think it was pertinent to the topic of discussion. But I'd love if Cody has a manager. Honestly, I feel like that aspect of wrestling is missing in WWE. I don't know what you feel about that, Jason.
Yeah, I don't think he needs one. I wouldn't mind it if it was the right person. If I think Arn Anderson, I think, is still under contract to AEW, so I don't even know if that's possible. I know his son doesn't work there anymore, but I think he's still there. I mean, I just don't know who it would be. It kind of reminds me of like when Shawn Michaels had Jose Lothario as his manager after he won the world title for the first time, and it didn't work. He didn't really need him. Unless you brought in Brandy, I don't know who else. Who else would it be? It would feel forced to me. I don't know who that person would be.
Yeah, I'll pass on Brandy. No, thank you.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, you got Paul Ellering over there with the Final Testament, who never says anything. Back in the day, he was a great old school manager, but he doesn't really do anything these days.
No.
Or else I'd say maybe he would have been better off with Cody. I don't think there is anybody. For me, it would just feel forced. I don't think it's necessary.
Edward with the 33 months. Thank you, brother. When Punk was last in the UK, he had issues getting around. Could there be a callback when McIntyre messes with Punk's travel plans inside Scotland? Oh, man, I'd fucking love that. I'd absolutely love that. That's a great thought process there, Edward. And knowing McIntyre's troll tendencies, we actually may see something like that. I mean, he did go to Mindy's.
He did, and they were closed. He couldn't get in.
And then he called them a shit business who closes on a Monday. He's got a point.
It's true, but is it Monday or
it's Monday?
Closed no, but is it Monday only or Monday and Tuesday they're closed?
They might be closed Monday and Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is weird.
Rich Mulatto with a 199. JD and Jason are so pretty. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay. I guess. Thank you.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
El Mase with a $10 super chat. Please don't Photoshop JD and Solomonster on Harlem Heat. They will get canceled. Thanks for the heads up, El Mase. We'll let Lamont know immediately. The Juliet 316 with a $2 super chat. Ospreay wins unless Callis family turns on him at Double or Nothing. Oh, yeah, another story we forgot to mention. I mean, there's just so many interweaving parts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they really haven't played that aspect of it up enough,
No.
I think, to where that would make sense.
No.
It'd be out of nowhere.
Jaxo23 with a new membership. Thank you, brother. Jack Glancy with a $5 super chat. Did Rock and Gewirtz really expect Cody to smile at basically getting cucked? Who do they think he is? Sneeko. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so, but Gewirtz really is brain dead if he thought that was going to work out the way he wanted.
Mm-hmm. Cloud 9.
Yeah. I mean, Cody showed him. Edward with a $4.99. Cody's supposed to be happy with Rock taking his Mania spot. Probably smelled like worse shit to him than what he cleaned up from Pharaoh earlier in the day. Yeah. Probably about the same. Oh, and Sexy Red is a rapper. Oh, okay. Thank you, guys.
I see. Okay,
Yes.
They did mention that. They did, and she's got I think 1.4 million followers on Twitter, so she's apparently a pretty big deal. So why she's coming to NXT, I have no idea.
Oh, wow. Shawn Michaels going the social media influencer route to generate some ratings during NBA playoffs, huh? Great.
Well, they were down, I think, to 567,000 the other day.
Yep.
Got to try something.
Vincent with a $2 super chat. Next week, Shayna Baszler versus Lola Vice. Great. Rusty with the 31 months. JD, you've talked about addiction in your family. Going to share just past 10 years sobriety. If I can get clean, so can others. Please get help if you need it. Rusty, that's a beautiful thing to hear, brother. Thank you so very much for telling us, about that. And congratulations on 10 years, man. That is That is a testament to how strong you really are, man. I know. Honestly. Hollywood Guy with a $5 super chat. The tag team that you should put in the thumbnail would be Power and Glory, the Brothers of Destruction, or Money Inc., and maybe even Heart Foundation.
Well, I have to say, Lamont did put together a Brothers of Destruction one. I look completely unflattering in this one. Bald, I'm fat. It's terrible. You look great. And you're like Undertaker. And this is what Undertaker was like at his most cut. And then there's me. I look like fucking Uncle Fester who just had Thanksgiving dinner. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna hold on to this one. I'm not gonna use this one right away. But maybe I'll use it next week.
We'll see. We'll see what the tag team of choice is gonna be next week, guys. We love it. A Watson with a 24 months. Thank you, man. What's up, JD? Jason, I just realized I'm a 24-month member on the channel. Drinks on me. Let's go. Cheers. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you're buying.
Francis Loop with a $10 super chat. The problem with the takeover 5-match format is that you're paying WrestleMania prices for TV matches and the glitz and glamour of superstar entrances. WWE's hoping the international fans are stupid. I mean...
Well, look, WWE, you know what you're getting with WWE. WWE is... When has it ever been about just wrestling? I mean, you can't be surprised at this point that this is what they are marketing. They're marketing stars. They're marketing an experience. That's what WWE is. So I don't know why people are surprised by this. And by the way, when they do it on these shows, these people are going nuts for it.
Yeah.
It's not like they're sitting on their hands. It's not like they're booing. They're doing the wave. They're complaining. They know what they're getting when they pay these prices.
You don't think Nick Khan saw that reaction, already has the next fucking city in mind that he's going to next year internationally for Backlash? Of course he does.
I don't know why he wouldn't just go back to France every year for Backlash.
Just a bigger venue.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the other venues are that they have there that would be bigger. Do they have a stadium there?
Supposedly they do. I mean, I think I read somewhere that Nick Khan was texting Triple H during the show, stadium next year. They have to have a stadium somewhere.
Okay, well, they can run a stadium. Yeah, but again, if you're gonna get that kind of reaction, why not just go back there every year?
I know. Snowman Khan with the $6.99. Can we get a Breaker to spear? Can we get Breaker to spear Gewirtz like he did to Ricochet? Thoughts on the Ryback kicking it with Ross situation? I don't know why anybody's talking about Ryback, man. Do we really need to mention him? Kicking in with Ross is fucking great. I mean, I'm glad he owned Ryback, but I mean, I don't really have anything else to add there.
Yeah, and he kind of walked into that, I think, because he's a nice guy, and Ryback is Ryback, and that's why Ryback has been where he is the last 10 years, and you know, when he trends, it's usually for all the wrong reasons. So.
He's a leech, bro. So that's all that matters. Francis Loop with a $5 super chat. AEW is still the alternative. WWE has Akira Tozawa. And AEW has the alternative in Konosuke Takeshita. 2 ways Japanese wrestlers are portrayed. I don't know where you're getting Tozawa and Takeshita in the same sentence. Tozawa's a great fucking wrestler. They got him as a comedy jobber. So, but AEW is no longer the alternative, man. I mentioned this several times. How can you be the alternative when the alternative is now leading WWE? Because he was the alternative to Vince. It's very difficult for Tony Khan to stand on his own 2 feet and do the things that he was doing with Vince in charge, because Triple H is only going to do what Tony Khan is doing, but better. That's not really just me being a shill. It's just the fact of the matter. Like, he's got the resume to back it up. Tony Khan doesn't know how to book anything. He's a great matchmaker, but he's not a booker. He's not a creative writer. Justin with a $4.99. He retracts the message. Thank you, Justin. Liver Morgan with a $1.99.
Oh, my God.
We got to get the fuck out of here. He says Sonya Deville is back. Thank you, Liver Morgan. Oh, my God. There's always one.
I think it might have been a mistake for her to announce that she's single. I'm starting to think that was a mistake.
She wants somebody to blow her away, apparently. I don't know who's going to do that, but...
I don't know.
And Tyler Floyd with a $19.99 coming in late. Thank you, Tyler. Cody only needed a manager if he turns heel. Also, am I alone that the more Becky and Liv talk, the less fucks I give, but at least Gunther went over Jay. Yes, I mean, Becky's Becky, but Liv is, in my opinion, not a good promo. Honestly. Yes, everybody's laughing now over Liver Morgan. Get it out. Good. Anyway, we're about to get out of here, man. I appreciate you guys very much. I had a blast tonight. This is episode 49, third installment with Solomonster. Make sure you guys follow us on social media. Everything you need is linked down in the description. Go follow Jason on YouTube as well. He'll be live tomorrow night for Dynamite. I'll be with him live at Club La Boom on Friday, and then we got a big weekend ahead with King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring, and Double or Nothing. Any parting words, Jason, on your end before we get the hell out of here?
No, just a thank you to everybody who has been commenting and supporting. 3 episodes in the book. I think we covered all the bases tonight. Again, I wish there were more bases to cover, but it is what it is right now. Things are kind of just the way they are. I feel like it's this post-WrestleMania lull that we're in right now.
Yeah.
But again, thank you everybody in Lamont and everybody for all the artwork. It really cracks us up. So I can't wait to see what you guys have in store for next week. And I also want to mention, because it'll be the last time before the holiday, happy Memorial Day.
There you go. Appreciate everybody for hanging out, including Liver Morgan. Thank you guys very much. We will see you next week for episode 50 of Tuesday Night Titans. Until next week, guys, join us this weekend for a big wrestling weekend. And we'll see you right back here on Tuesday for episode 50. We'll see you guys later.